What is up, everybody? Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome. I should get my what's his name? Bruce, the guy, the wrestling guy, Bruce Buffer.
Oh. What was
It's
that?
just
What that was
Bruce
imitating?
Buffer. No, I'm saying I
For the
should.
millions and millions. Let's get ready to rumble.
That man's got an iconic voice.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Today is Tuesday, August 17th. We are Fish and Grits Sports. I am Ryan, joined as always by these two handsome gentlemen to my left and my right. These two sports knowledge powerhouses. Some may say savants. Marco Restrepo. How are we doing today, sir?
What is up, world? Ready to break down some sports today?
Ready to talk some basketball?
Basketball, football, baseball. Unfortunately, our college segment had tests this week, so he bowed out.
In true college fashion. I got test. Oh, crap. I got to study actually for class.
I knew when he started writing the top 25 line by line and not copy and pasting, he was reaching for material.
Here's this one. This team came in at 4. Micah, I know you're ready to talk about these red hot Atlanta Braves.
I'll tell you, brother. I am super psyched right now. Now, I'm telling you, what are you going to do when the Bravos run wild on you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
In the world, that's not sports. There's a lot going on. COVID's back, guys. Yay. We're wearing masks again. But I think everyone knows that, and I don't want to talk about it. What about y'all? Y'all got anything new and exciting before we jump into sports?
I heard about that Omega strain, that Alpha strain, Zeta. I'm just trying to avoid all them motherfuckers.
I'm trying to steer clear of all the strains. What you got?
Some people are stupid. That's all I got to say.
Not some people. A lot of people are stupid. A lot.
And prayers up to Afghanistan. I mean, I know we don't get too much into it, but yeah, prayers up to that.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on there.
That is devastating and heartbreaking to watch. Not just for those that have gone and served, but mainly for those that live there. It's ugly. It's a lot of words that I could use on this thing, but I won't. And just prayers up, like Marco said. But someone who doesn't need many prayers. Let's first get down into the Grits Blitz here and talk a little football, Marco.
Blue 32. Blue 32. Ha, ha, ha.
Football time. So this actually happened probably about 3-4 hours ago. I don't know if you guys saw it, but Jamal Adams is considerably richer now.
Mm-hmm.
The starting strong safety for the Seattle Seahawks just got a 4-year contract extension worth up to $72 million. It's $70 million base. And I think $38 million was guaranteed and $17.5 million salary per year. So as a safety who was touted coming out of LSU, was probably one of the best safety prospects probably since like Sean Taylor, in all honesty, being complete a hitter, a guy who can cover and do all the things. He got, his first big payday after being traded from the Jets and really got broke off. Here's the one problem I have with this, though. Jamal doesn't get you turnovers. Jamal is great at getting you tackles. He'll even get you some sacks as a safety. But as far as like what you expect from safeties, he doesn't really do that. Do you guys think that Jamal Adams is worth $17.5 million a year? Marco, I saw the face move first. Let's see what you got.
I think he is, because I think he's a very physical presence, and obviously, you want to see those interceptions from anybody in your secondary, but at the same time, I think he's so useful on every level. He can come up, step up, play a linebacker kind of position. He's big enough to, do that, and he's good at coverage. So I think that he's definitely the best piece on their defense right now. So, I mean, whether you quantify that with 17.5 million, which is like bench player money in the NBA, I think he is worth that. I really do.
Micah, do you agree with Marco?
I mean, yeah. Now, granted, yeah, the picks aren't there, and but he can do so many things. He can affect the game in so many ways. I mean, remember last year when we played him, and just him blitzing, it was just like, oh my God, is somebody gonna put a body on this guy? Like he, great tackler. He's not even probably, he is the best blitzing safety in the league. He can take on blocks
since Sean Taylor.
I mean, like he's damn near Troy Polamalu esque when he's blitzing, like just timing and stuff like that. I mean, he can do some of it all. Now, granted, are his hands great? Is he a ball hawk? No, but at the strong safety position, you don't necessarily look for the ball hawk type. You want kind of a thumper, an enforcer, a good tackler, and someone. Now, if he can, but he's good enough, he can still cover tight ends and hold his own against good tight ends. So yeah, I mean, realistically, he is one of the best safeties in the league, and he deserves to be paid like an elite safety. So,
yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. Like, I set it up in a way that made it sound like Jamal may have been overpaid, but Jamal is a game wrecker on defense. You plan around him. You've always heard the stories about these quarterbacks coming out and finding those elite free safeties lurking the field. Like, people would always identify Ed Reed because they know wherever he was, that side of the field, that you don't throw there. That's a no-fly zone. He was going to get you. Now, Jamal is very good in coverage. He doesn't get as many picks as he should, but he can man up on tight ends. He can damn near take tight ends out of the game because he's big enough, strong enough, and fast enough. He's got that long speed to where he can stay stride for stride with some of these taller guys, and he's physical enough to where he can body them and jump with them and not get pushed out of the way. He can man up with running backs, except for those elite guys like Christian McCaffrey and Kamara. That's maybe like a Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's pretty good out in the routes, or Kareem Hunt. Those are the guys that I probably wouldn't feel too comfortable him locking down. But just about everybody else, you can man him up on him and do well. And he's also the quarterback of the defense. You'll see him back there directing guys. He knows where he is. You'll see him dropping back in coverage. And his ability to disguise his coverage is incredible, and diagnose plays before they even happen. And Micah, you brought it up perfectly. Like, that game against Seattle, he won that game for them. He kept him in there long enough. He blitzed. He timed it perfectly, and he was just in there just breaking plays up left and right. The guy is worth every penny of it. I know a lot of people like to get onto him on the internet, and especially like on Instagram. It's like, oh, he only has 2 picks. It's like, yeah, but he's also got 21 and a half sacks in his career. He's probably got, I didn't look up his forced fumbles, but they're probably in the double digits. He will separate you from that ball. And he is an elite force back there. I can't think of one strong safety in this league that I would rather have. Like, he's what we wanted Keanu Neal to be, essentially.
Right. That's what we hope for.
Right. I mean, and Kiki was good. Kiki was very, very good and often underrated, but he's not Jamal. He's just not fast enough.
Nor heady enough. I will say, though, that just for perspective, if Sean Taylor was in his prime in this league, he'd be getting 23 and a half.
Easily. Like, Sean Taylor would have gone down as the best safety of all time. I have no problem saying that.
Right.
because he
had
did
an
everything.
instinct for the ball. Like the way that he could be a thumper and he had a non-prio instinct for the ball. It's just like he always knew where it was, where the quarterback was throwing it, and he just swoop in.
And his hands were he caught like a receiver.
Yeah.
But he just loves smacking people. Like, good night. I've never seen T.O. more scared to go across the middle than I saw in those back then Redskins Cowboys games. So
I will say this though. Jamal Adams in 4 years as a safety has more sacks than Tack McKinley has in his entire career as a pass rusher. Oh man.
Ouch. It hurts somewhere in this area.
It's like Tack's like, yeah, I got 17 sacks on my career. Jamal's like, I'm a safety and I got 21 and a half. Get your sacks up, bro.
That's a perfect segue, though, to someone who has not lived up to what we thought they were going to be as a pro. And actually, maybe not quite as much. People probably expected a little more from Tack McKinley, but that's the tight end, Tim Tebow, was recently released from the Jacksonville Jaguars. It puts an end to his, well, it at least puts an end to this part of his comeback with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He may get another chance, but he did put out a tweet. He said, "Thank you to the Jaguars organization and everyone who has supported me in this journey. And we know that God works things together for good." Romans 8:28. Does Tim, and let's just go through this real quick. Do you think Tim Tebow gets another chance with another team? Marco?
No.
Micah?
Absolutely not.
I think he does. I think someone else, a losing team, is going to try and bring him in for PR and stash him. Maybe, if they don't really need him, maybe they'll even throw him in as like an H-back. Maybe like, look, this tight end thing, man. Nah, H-back though.
You know the only team I could see potentially crazy enough to do that.
The Raiders.
Man, that Tim Tebow guy right there, man. I love that guy.
I always liked that guy. He's a real fiery playmaker.
Man,
he's a winner.
We're going to have to come up with a package with him and Nathan Peterman. We're going to have us a...
Oh, man. If Tim Tebow gets on with the Raiders, one, it's the Raiders. So that's just like this anti-Tim Tebow image.
Right.
But two, putting John Gruden and Tim Tebow together on one team and Mike Mayock.
Oh my God.
It'd make for a hell of a broadcasting crew.
Yeah,
right.
Honestly, it would. They're on the sideline calling plays together, and like Derek Carr's in there like, "What's the play? What?"
I really like what that other quarterback's doing over there. He just like, what about our plays?
Delay a game on the offense. Derek Carr's like,
Hey, Mike, what do you like about that? What do you think about that spider 2 wide banana right here?
I mean, he'd be a perfect if you could put him in the backfield of like an H-back / fullback right there. Throw it out to him on the flat.
But can he catch it?
Yeah,
honestly,
did you not see in those preseason games?
He caught one.
No, I didn't see him catch anything. I just saw him whiffing on blocks.
Oh, yeah.
I saw him catch in practice, not in the preseason.
He caught a couple of touchdowns in practice, yeah.
Yeah, I would say that if anything, if he doesn't go back to the booth or whatever he was doing, then I think that
baseball, Marco. It's called baseball.
No, he was already done with baseball. He was in the booth before. Wasn't he in the booth after baseball?
ESPN,
did he?
He did some college analysis.
Yeah.
Did he go baseball booth?
No, he was already. He went booth baseball, but then I think he went back.
Right.
He went booth baseball, but I think he went back. I think that
in the offseason he did some football analysis in the baseball offseason too.
So I think that maybe he could be a coach or something.
Yeah, I mean,
coach high school football.
He could do exactly what Vic Beasley wants to do and actually be successful at it. Start a church.
Right. Yeah, he should go evangelize his career and just start opening churches. He would be huge at that.
Be a football coach. Be like that movie Facing the Giants and just, convert all your players.
Ooh. Maybe he starts a church football league, and I don't mean like they have a field where you can go and play. Maybe he literally has a following, and you play other churches.
Ooh.
I mean, there's churches that already have stuff like that, but yeah,
But they're not Tim Tebow's church.
they're not. New Birth.
Vic Beasley would definitely go play there. They're like a church based, like the what are they called? What, people that go to the church. You're following your
pew, your congregation.
Your congregation, like congregations play other congregations.
Not really. So, well, like the kids do. They don't really have adults, but
yeah. See, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like the congregation. Like he
They got
recruits an
basketball.
elite squad of ex NFL players that are the Cardinals and their choir, and they're just like these jack guys, and they go out and play football on Sundays.
In good faith.
I baptize you in the name of the Lord. Ah.
No, they won't have to worry about the NFL's penalties for celebrating.
This is just like the dirtiest brand of football ever. It's like backyard blitz. They're just killing each other out there.
They pray. It's like,
that's what they need to get for the XFL. His XFL idea. Vince McMahon needs to work with Tim Tebow.
Honestly. So moving on and including your favorite team here, Micah. So with COVID spiking back up, a lot of teams are starting to, at the very least, contemplate how they're going to address this season. With the Delta variant being so virulent and spreading so easily here, especially amongst the unvaccinated. That's no shot at you. I'm just the truth.
Why you gotta say? Why do you? Who
was I talking to? I said you.
Just keep it rolling. My HIPAA rights are being violated. I'm vaccinated as far as
you outed yourself.
I'm vaccinated as far as y'all concerned.
All right, so both the New Orleans Saints and the Las Vegas Raiders are now requiring proof of vaccination or a recent COVID negative test to enter the game. And it needs to be within 3 days. That one I don't quite get, because if I get tested on Friday and I'm negative, but I catch it Saturday and I come to the game on Sunday.
That's but they're doing that all over New Orleans. I was supposed to be going down there at the end of the month for a show, and that's what they said. Restaurants, places like that, like anything that where people can gather, they were requiring that you had to show a vaccination card.
We're actually behind the curve. The half of Europe and half the world have been doing that now for a while. They're like, "You want to come in? Cool."
Well, they also don't have the false information on the stuff either. They don't.
Yeah. There's a lot of people in Europe, and I've seen a lot of those.
The whole world has false information.
Well, it's not nearly as much as in the States, and we don't have like entire news entities.
I think you just mean there's more people in the United States.
Yeah,
but it's not as many. Like, you don't have an entire news entity that's spreading stuff that's politicizing it. So
yeah. So Raiders owner Mark Davis was quoted as saying, "Health and safety has always been our number one priority," which is ironic considering you're the owner of a football team. After consultation with Governor Sisolak and the other community leaders, this policy ensures that we will be able to operate at full capacity without masks for fully vaccinated fans for the entire season, Davis explained. And after going to a Falcons preseason game the other day, I appreciate that, because there was a lot of times where I was, around people in there, and I was like, well, I'm vaccinated. I know that. But these guys are yelling in my face, like they're over here, and this guys are like leaning over me when they're going into the, getting behind me. And I was like, I feel a little uncomfortable. There was a couple times where even Nicole put on her mask because people got too close. Even though it's a gigantic stadium, the roof is open. It's just like it's ingrained in you now. And this would probably make you feel a little bit better. I don't think it's going to really be foolproof. Nothing in this era is right now. But it at least will make fans feel more comfortable about spending their money and getting out there on Sunday and watching their team and not feeling the way I did this past week. What do y'all have any strong opinions on this?
On what? On
everything I just said?
It sort of just glazed over my ears. No, so you're saying that the fact that fans should be able to, you would have to be fully, only let vaccinated people in.
I like it. We'll be there. We'll be there.
Only everything should only let vaccinated people in.
I like it.
Like stores, grocery stores. Your own car shouldn't turn on unless you're vaccinated.
I like it. It should like the breathalyzer things that they install in cars. Insert vaccine card.
Just scan your chip.
That, I know you're not serious about that, but it's funny because people, being a former entity of this government and a soldier and working in communications for the government and realizing how inept some of the trackers that we have are and the communication systems we have are, and people are like, they're putting microchips in my blood and the government can track me. And it's like, you know how many pieces of equipment and soldiers we lost just in field training exercises, which are here in the States with giant, towers everywhere. And we're like, don't know where they are. The equipment's not working. And their Blue Force trackers are like this big and installed in a Humvee hooked up to a giant power source. And we're like, they're gone. Don't know where they are.
They knew where Osama was the whole time.
They got them satellites and they can track me and they can listen in. You know what is actually tracking you? This.
The thing you can't get off of.
Right. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox here in the middle of this football segment. Speaking of clubs that are doing the right thing, the Falcons announced yesterday. Was it today or yesterday?
Yesterday.
Yesterday that they were the first team in the NFL to be 100% at their vaccination rate for the season. So every single Falcons player is vaccinated, and I would assume that's the staff as well, because I think staff you're required, players it's optional. But 100% of the Falcons are vaccinated, unlike those silly Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson that Brandon so fervently supports, and Lamar Jackson has now caught COVID twice. Drake made an appearance.
I thought we were about to do like some DJ stuff.
I thought we were terrible. I was like, oh, new segment. Segment alert.
We need to start doing that, get our soundboard so we can just play.
Let's do it. I can do it. Yeah, I can set up plenty of them.
But before we move on to Falcons talk, do y'all
hold on, in true Marco fashion, ending a segment?
You didn't even mention this terrible new rule about taunting. Did y'all see some of the bullshit they were throwing flags for? Like that dude literally ran through the whole entire, I forget, he literally ran, dragged the whole entire squad, flexed his muscles. He dragged them 20 yards, flexed his muscles, and they gave him a 15-yard penalty. If that's any indication of what's going to be happening this season, it's going to be complete bullshit this season.
Two things when it comes to that. The rule in general. They always enforce it harder in the preseason just to let players know what the deal is. They try and set the tone early in the preseason, and they're they get a little flag happy, like new rule, got to use it, got to use this rule. But two, that was an amazing play. He could have flexed, but what he did was he turned, looked at the player, and flexed at him.
So
now, granted, I don't agree with the rule.
Who's ever watched football and be like, "Oh my God, why is he taunting him?"
Well, here's the thing I want to ask. Do the players care when they get taunted?
Of course not.
Right. So who are they protecting with this rule? The fans don't care. The players clearly don't care. Why is this a rule?
Amateur leagues, maybe they're trying to discourage kids from doing that. But
it could be an image thing.
It depends though. It really, because I have seen where players have cared.
If you step over them and drag your nuts across their helmet.
Anything that leads to wanting to fight, yeah, sure.
Well, like the whole, I'll never forget the whole brawl that started with T.O. and the Cowboys.
But he went and stood on the star.
He ran in the middle of the star. Yeah, he ran 50 yards, went to their sacred logo, and went.
That's of course.
What?
Of course, that's gonna make people mad. Or Randy Moss mooning someone. Even though that was I get that, but simple things if I look at you after I destroy you and flex my muscle, that's just what people do after they.
James Trey Young crosses you, looks at you, shimmies, and then shoots. You just did something to an elite player,
right?
And you just destroyed them.
Feel yourself. And what would Deion Sanders have done in this era?
Dion actually wasn't as bad as a lot of people think. But
his
It's not
mouth
that he
beat
was
though.
bad, but he was talking and he was flashy.
That's the one thing they said. Dion never talked. He said that. Players have said that Dion wasn't a talker. He would high step and stuff to the end zone, but they said he didn't talk trash.
I thought I heard clips of him when he was talking about and other players that he would line up across and he would just talk to him the whole time.
Yeah, I've seen contradicting stories to that.
And then I know like the ones like Ocho Cinco, definitely. T.O. like those two were part of the reason they did it the first time when they started to make these anti-taunting things because they went so crazy with their celebration. Then Joe Horn got involved with the cell phone and the props and stuff. That's when they started to crack down on the first time.
I mean, I understand props because not only is that sometimes that's corny and but I understand that's doing extra stuff is one thing, but that one play in particular is like I saw nothing wrong with that in any sense. And that's the type of thing that if obviously, like Ryan said, they're gonna go harder in the the preseason, but in the regular season, if that costs your team a game, I don't know how much I can watch of that. How much more I could watch.
Here's an article ranking the top 20 trash talkers of all time, and Dion's on there as number 17. He said, "Primetime doesn't really have a famous quote because he never really trash talked to the media. He did it on the field constantly." I thought that, I mean, not to point out that you're wrong, Mike. I just wanted to. I thought that's what
I had heard. I had heard that he was a
talker. Or I might have been, or it might have been what's his name.
He didn't curse at people.
No. It might have been. He might have been. It could have been him talking about Jerry Rice.
Yeah, Jerry didn't talk.
Yeah, Jerry was a Tim Duncan type player.
Jerry was like, "That's nice. Shake you. Bye."
Like Jim Brown type player, didn't even change his expression. just
another touchdown.
And I know Barry Sanders absolutely. Didn't say nothing, didn't celebrate.
Even off the football field, he can't emote. So I don't know how he would do it.
He was too busy living in his fight or flight mode, and it was just constant flight because he had no blockers.
True.
Either that or he's trying to live up to his dad's expectations of him.
Yeah.
His dad basically said, "You will never be as good as Jim Brown." It's like, oh.
But Dad, I tried so hard. I literally set the college record.
I wonder if after his career, his dad was like, "I told you, son. I told you you'd never be as good as Jim Brown."
Jim Brown's still the greatest running back of all time.
Oh.
Can I at least be the most elusive dad?
Right.
Nope.
Now try your hand at acting. Jim Brown got you there too.
Oh man.
Let's talk some Falcons, guys. Let's get on to other disappointing things and talk about our Falcons and not living up to expectations. So this past weekend, as I mentioned before, Falcons played. It was our first preseason game of the season, and we matched up with the Tennessee Titans, and it started off as a pretty decent game and then quickly got out of control. In all fairness, we did not play any what you would call potential offensive starters for the game. You started the game, no Matt Ryan, no Calvin Ridley, no Kyle Pitts, no Russell Gage, no Jake Matthews at left tackle, no Caleb McGarry, no Chris Lindstrom. So there was a lot of second, third, fourth string, or people that weren't going to be on the team that were starting this game, and it wound up with us losing 20-33. And of the potential offensive starters, we only had one, and that was Josh Andrews, who was our starting left guard. And he was in an embattled position anyway, because that position's up for about 3 other guys right now. And with his play in that game, he might have lost it, honestly. So we're going to go over a couple things that we each saw in this game, what we noted, and some of the things that we can improve upon, some of the things that we need to, possibly see this week, and then what we're going to see with the Dolphins matchup. So as far as the things that we noticed this game, I'm going to name a couple. I'll give one and you can give one, and then we'll go through the list. Micah, I want to start with you because you got a really good view of the game, and watching the game in that off angle, it was kind of hard to see. And I've gone back to watch some of it. But what's the biggest thing that stood out to you? Just, granted it was a preseason game, but what did you see in this first game versus the Titans?
I
Wait, we should break
saw.
it down positive or negative because
Well, yeah, let's
A
go
matter of fact,
positive here.
I'll do positive. I'll do positive first.
Okay. You just go one.
Positive for us to be running a vanilla defense and nothing but backups. The defense actually impressed me. It just Dean Pease. It's already a breath of fresh air. With vanilla, he did a lot more with the vanilla defense than Dan Quinn did in 5 seasons as the coach. So yeah, that's my positive. Once our starters and all that get implemented, I think I'm excited to see how this defense will play under Dean Pease' scheming.
Yeah. And I'm gonna follow you up on that because I have a feeling all of us are gonna be defensive related because there's with 3 points on the board, there's not much offensively to be positive about, but it relies with Dean Pease' willingness to blitz. And I mean not just send 1 or 2, but blitz the quarterback on passing situations. There was several times where we came out and it was 0 coverage. And it wasn't like we blitzed Jalen Hawkins from 10 yards back. We walked him up into the box. And we said, all right, buddy. Hey, Woodside, here it comes. You better get it out quick. And we pressed on the outside. And that's what we do have, are good pressing corners. AJ's an excellent press corner. Oliver's a really good press corner. Fabian's pretty good. And Chef's he's okay. But he can at least hold it long enough on a 0 coverage blitz. And they've got enough long speed that they can catch up to him. So that's the big thing for me is Dean Pease's willingness to get after the other team's quarterback when it's on an obvious passing situation. Marco, what you got?
just it's not I won't want to say simple because obviously if it were simple, every coach would do it. But just the fact that if if you bring more people than the defense can block, you're gonna have an effective blitz scheme. That's and I don't think we've ever had we have 4 sacks in a preseason game.
Yeah, we had 3 in the first half.
Right. Even if it's not any of the guys who are, some of the guys we're going to see, but a majority of the guys we'll never see on both sides. The fact that we got 4 sacks in a preseason game on the simple principle of bring more pressure, I'm super encouraged by that. Let's go.
And the sacks that we actually got in that first quarter were from guys that are either going to be a heavy rotation like Marlon Davidson or Ade Ogundeji, who is a guy like we had mentioned last week, who is fighting for that outside linebacker / defensive end spot. So it's sacks from production out of guys that are good and could actually see potential high amounts of playing time. So I wouldn't write it off too much, Marco. A lot of the sacks came from guys that are gonna be on this roster.
But even so, they're going against, you got to question who they're going against. But still, like I said, I'm saying it's a positive thing despite who they were going against.
Yeah, if Ryan Tannehill's in there and Derrick Henry's in there and, Julio and A.J. Brown, it's probably not going to be as easy. Yeah, I get that.
But Julio didn't travel. Julio didn't want to come back to the Benz.
He was scared because he knew he was going to get booed. He knew he was going to get booed. He said, "Why? I've been there. Why would I go back? I'm not. I know how nice our locker room or the Falcons locker room is. Why would I go to that locker room? I've seen it. I'm good." So let's keep up the positive notes. And a big thing that really stood out to me, and really the star of the game, played this position, but it's depth at that linebacker position. And it's kind of ironic that was, 2 of the things, or the thing that we covered last week, as far as the position group goes, they stood out and they really showed out this game and showed that they can thrive in this scheme and we have a lot of depth there. And that's that linebacker spot. And not even including those edge rushers because, a 3-4 outside linebacker / 4-3 defensive end, if you really want to call him a classic linebacker, that's fine. But he's an edge guy. That's why they denote them that way in the draft and on depth charts now. But even if you do include him, that linebacker position is just really, really deep. And Dorian Etheridge showed out with 14 tackles in this game and really if he makes the roster, which is crazy to say, that if he makes the roster, he'll probably be our 4th inside linebacker. Because you got Dion, Foye, Michael Walker, and then Dorian. So the man has really, really showed out. He's a Louisville product. And I remember playing him for several years when, as being a Florida State fan. He was everywhere in college. So it's not as shocking for that, but he had a really quiet camp up until this point and just blew up this game. So that was really great to see. Marco, what's your second thing you got?
Second positive. I think
we'll come back to you. Micah, what you got?
I gotta show love to Etheridge as well, because there were a lot of times where he played downhill against the run. I didn't really see him much in coverage, because he did blitz a lot, but there were several times where run and he's in the backfield making stuffing runs in the backfield. So yeah, definitely gotta show some love to Etheridge. And
well, I'll say, go ahead.
And and Jalen Hawkins. Jalen Hawkins stood out as well.
Yeah, just the individual efforts of some of the guys that we know are going to contribute, like Jalen Hawkins, Marlon Davidson. Even though Marlon Davidson might not have done anything like super like breathtaking, he was doing really cool stuff, like, things that you want to see guys at his position do. Like he was really digging in, shedding tackles, tackling a running back, things like that. Just basic stuff that we haven't got to see him do much of because, his availability. But I like seeing players who look ready to contribute.
The reason that we brought Marlon Davidson in was because his ability to pass rush out of that, that 4-3 defensive tackle spot. And, he has the ability to play outside as well. And so moving him to a 3-4 end is a little different. It plays differently. It's similar to that D tackle, but your responsibilities are a little different. It's like a blend of that nose tackle / D tackle in a 4-3 front. As far as the way you attack that, you want to eat up blocks, but you also still want to stack and shed, and then work your way down the line as well. Especially in a Dean Pease scheme where they play more of a one gap technique, and sometimes they influence a 2-gap technique as well. So he did a really good job, and there was a couple plays against the run where he would get on that guard and center and just eat their lunch. And you saw how explosive he can be and how strong he can be. So that was good to see. I definitely like that. Last positive for me, Micah, you mentioned it, and one of the reasons that you didn't see Etheridge in coverage as much is because of the way we used our safeties. And we moved them down into the box in more of like a dime linebacker or nickel linebacker type of situation, especially with Dion and Foye being on the sideline and Michael Walker not getting a lot of reps because they didn't want him to get out there and get hurt. But Jalen Hawkins played excellent. He played that strong safety spot. He played that dime backer spot, and his coverage was left something to be desired at times, but he had some good hits. He took some good angles, and he was all over the ball, the field, bringing energy to the whole team. So he's exciting. He may not be the starter with Duron Harmon being there, but the young guys we got certainly are pushing for some playing time, and it's really exciting to see. Micah, you got a third?
Actually, yeah. I'll say this. I was surprised, even though the numbers weren't great and we didn't do anything like points wise, but Felipe Franks actually surprised me because he was decisive, made good decisions, didn't force the ball into traffic a lot, and there were one or two times where nothing was open downfield. He threw the ball away, which we don't see enough. And there were plenty of times where there was nothing downfield, and he immediately took off and got popped. Just get upfield, get some yards, get positive yards, and don't take sacks. So I thought, yeah, he kind of surprised me. He was better than I thought he would be.
Same for me. Felipe Franks, I think it's like a guy who's 6'7". You know, he can either be Brock Osweiler or he can be a 6'7" freak athlete like we saw Felipe Franks. You know, and I think he really used his size in a way that I didn't see him do that at Florida. And maybe it's because of the system or where'd he end up at? Missouri or
Arkansas.
something? Arkansas,
yeah.
I just didn't see him use that size like that. And then in the NFL, when it's a whole bunch of men and he's out there with them, it lets you really see his ability to use that size. Like Micah said, yeah, his stats were sort of bad, but that's because there was a lot of drop passes where he hit his receivers in the hands. And he has some instincts that I did not know were there. Like something like Micah said, as simple as throwing the ball away when, that's just something even Matt Ryan has trouble with. So it was good seeing that. And maybe it's just in contrast to the other guy I'm going to talk about when we get to the bad things.
Oh, man. You know what? Go ahead and lead us off with the bad things, Marco.
Man. Well, so I'm not even going to start with him for bad. For me, the first bad that I noticed was penalties. Like, oh my God. That one sort of had me a little worried because I know even if you guys aren't talented, a lot of time penalties are attributed to your head coach. And just, but I'm not too worried about it because I know from what Dan Quinn was doing, I know there's structure here and I know all that. But at the same time, it just puts that little worry in the back of my mind, somewhere in the back of my mind, like, okay, we got to see with the starters in if on the 2 series that they run in the next game or whatever, if there's a penalty or 2 in those, then I'm really going to start to worry because our penalties were ridiculous throughout the whole entire game.
Micah.
Oh, I'm coming out the gate with the elephant in the room. I question this when we first signed him. Why the hell did we sign AJ McCarron? I didn't like him in Bama. I didn't like him in Cincinnati. I didn't like him anywhere he's been. I haven't liked him. And it's like, I get it. You want a seasoned veteran for a backup, but good Lord, like, yo, you went AJ, you know how many other guys you could, Tyrod Taylor didn't have a job when we signed AJ McCarron. We could have got him in here. Anybody. I'd get David Carr in here before fucking AJ McCarron. Dude is trash. And he looked like trash. Now, granted, I get it. Offensive line wasn't great, but bruh, it was like he was trying to throw the game. He was throwing the ball straight to defenders. It's like, bro, what are you doing? Are you colorblind? Can you see the right colors?
He looked awful.
My God.
It's one thing because the Titans did have some starters in, especially in the secondary. We didn't have any. You threw Darby, Olamide Zaccheaus, and Christian Blake out there against 3 guys who are going to probably get significant snaps in the NFL at cornerback and a patchwork offensive line. Like no offensive line starters against the front 7 that had some starters in as well. So it's like AJ really didn't get a fair shake. He was running for his life half the time. But yeah, there were some throws in there. It was like, are you supposed to be in the NFL? Because it looked really bad. And mine, we pretty much covered the 3 things negative that I wanted to talk about. So I'll just harp on the offensive line. Their technique did not look good. The guys who were supposed to be battling for positions didn't look like they should be battling for positions. Like Josh Andrews, I mentioned him earlier in the show, looks like he should be a 2nd string offensive lineman or maybe possibly cut. Willie Beavers looked nothing more than a swing tackle. He got beat up quite a bit. And Drew Dahlman, our backup center that we drafted in the 5th round, I want to say, he looked like a rookie. So offensive line, I hope the starters are significantly better, but to run out a scheme that makes offensive linemen look great, and a offensive-minded coach that was an offensive lineman. It was a little concerning to see, but that's a position where just without skill on the offensive line, without skill and strength, you just don't win in the NFL. You can't just throw out any offensive lineman and be like, all right, well, this scheme's good enough to get you there. It just doesn't work there.
Well, Drew Dahlman didn't surprise me at all, because when we drafted him, it was one of the things I saw about him in the scouting report that I kind of critiqued. I'm like, he's undersized and he has trouble against big physical defensive tackles. So, and the division we're in, we play nothing but teams with big physical defensive tackles. So why would you draft a guy who's at a position, who's a project like that? You're going to have to get him stronger before he's ever going to even be considered to see the field. So, I mean, I questioned that one with him.
Yeah. And quick shout out too, because I want to mention it. Jonathan Bullard looked really good for us as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're probably going to have some depth up front, and with this scheme, the defensive front's probably going to be much improved. We may not get the sacks out of some of the guys like Grady, because you just don't get a ton of sacks out of that 3-4 front. I don't know how much 4-3 or 4-4 we're going to play, or how we're going to scheme them, but I have a feeling we're going to be much improved against the run this year.
I do have one more negative that I thought about.
So we're still on negatives. Once you
I said we had talked about the three that we wanted to cover, but he has one more.
Yeah.
So, I thought we were going to get a shot at 3 negatives.
If you got more.
I want to talk about AJ, so go ahead, Mike.
One of the things that it was concerning me before the game, and I'm really concerned about it now. It was, after losing Julio, I said, what options do we have as far as depth at receiver? How does our receiver depth look? And one of the things, like, we had trouble getting separation. Everybody who played had trouble, from Tajay Sharp to OZ to it's all those guys had trouble consistently getting separation. And it's like, all right, so if Ridley gets banged up and has to miss a game, what do we do? It was one of my biggest things that I wanted to focus on, and it just nothing. Like, I was highly unimpressed after that game.
Marco, here's your chance. The floor is yours to trash AJ McCarron.
So, when you want to think of what a bad quarterback does, so good quarterbacks, obviously, even, they can anticipate things happening, right? They throw to spots, or they throw where they know their receiver's going to go. They know the plays. And let me not say they throw to spots. They know where their person's going to go so they can anticipate in time. AJ McCarron literally goes out there and he says, okay, I want to throw to that spot. And he doesn't care, hell or high water. He'll decide and he'll literally just throw it to whatever spot he decides that he needs to throw it to before the play even starts. And that's why it led to so many, he's just he has no abilities as a quarterback, no natural ability, no mind behind anything he does. He's just going out there and flinging it, and not very far, not very accurately. I was like, is this Nathan Peterman out here? It's like, who am I watching right now? I did not know. Obviously I don't watch a lot of AJ McCarron games, and obviously no one does because he's only played a handful of games, right? But you said season bet, season with what? What the fuck? What kind of spices did they use for this fool? Man.
What's that off-brand adobo? Not allspice. There's another one. Anyway, yeah.
It was not the Goya. Got the Dookie spice. But yeah, man, he is something horrific. And I just, to Micah's point, he said it about the receivers, but I think about our whole entire offense. Like, we do not want to see anybody get hurt because we do not have a lot of depth on the offensive side of the ball at all.
Or quality depth.
Quality depth. Or we got
bodies. We got bodies.
Everybody got bodies.
They just ain't worth nothing.
Yeah, there you go.
At this point, I'd take Nathan Peterman and jack up.
Seriously, the AJ McCarron, like whose smell test did he pass? Like, what was that Fontenot who thought like, oh, let's bring him in here? Like, what about him impressed Fontenot? Like,
they had to find a guy that was a veteran that wasn't going to require as much as, say, like a Matt Schaub would.
How much are we paying him a year?
Like $2.
Matt Schaub was like $2 million.
Matt Schaub was like $4.
Matt Henney's making 1.6. AJ
McCarron
can't even
also have
the shoes.
You also have the pull of Andy Reid to be able to say, "Hey, come play for us. You might be able to get a ring as a backup here." We don't have that ability.
We could have got Luke McCown at like 41 years old.
I'd rather give AJ a chance than bring Luke McCown in here.
No,
anybody got any else?
Ever give AJ a chance? Ever.
Let's get out of the last week and let's start looking forward to the future here. So this week we actually just left Atlanta. We flew out earlier today to begin our joint practices with the Miami Dolphins, which will culminate in the week 2 preseason game against them. And this is a matchup that could really either show how good we can be or expose how bad we actually are at some areas, because they are a quality team. They finished 10-6 last year. They, I believe, made the playoffs or just missed. I want to say they made it. They just missed it. I think at 10-6.
Yeah, they missed it towards the end
because they lost that last game of the season where they were trying to play in and get it at 11-5. To go 10-6 and not make the playoffs, that's impressive. But there's the Dolphins have a quality roster. Tua aside, not knowing what we're going to get from him, everywhere else on that roster is really good. They've got a great defense. Well, I won't say great, but a very good defensive front and a great secondary and really good, speedy, instinctual linebackers who get around and make plays on the ball. And with one more year under their belt, they're probably going to be even better than they were last year. The offense can present problems for us. So it's going to be exciting to see how we match up against them and how some of the changes that we've made and how some of the weapons that we've acquired match up against some of their guys. So let's get into some things here that we want to see out of this game, and then talk about some key matchups, and then do a quick prediction on the game, how we think it's going to go. And then after that, we'll do our second position preview for the season and talk about some of those guys. So I'll lead us off with this one. And I think it's something that every Atlanta Falcons fan wants to see, and that's Kyle Pitts. I want to see Kyle Pitts get out there, and I want to see him actually dominate his matchups. I want to see him get out there and be that number 4 overall pick, that potential Hall of Fame, one of the greatest tight ends to ever come into the draft type of guy, and be that weapon that we drafted him to be. Especially when you see him out there in those 2 tight end sets with Hayden Hurst, whether he's in line, in the slot, or out wide. I just want to see how we use him, and it's going to be interesting to see how many snaps he gets, because the preseason now to me is a little different, because you knew what to expect in years past. With game 1, you would get a certain amount. Game 2, you get more. Game 3, you would get an entire half, and then game 4, you wouldn't see anybody else. I just don't know what we're doing now, so it's going to take a while to adjust. So I would like to see him get 30, 40 snaps out there and really see what he's got and start to build some rhythm with the offense, and be that beast tight end that we all expect him and want him to be. I'm gonna leave this one open. Whoever wants to take it next, what do you want to see out of this game?
Marco?
Just get those penalties under control. You know what I mean? I know we're probably going to get a couple series from our starters, and I'm excited to see some Matt Ryan, Kyle Pitts targets. If we even get that, from maybe 2 series. Like you said, I don't know how they're going to structure this, but I mean, with Pat Mahomes playing 2 series or 1 series in the first preseason of his game, I don't see how Matt Ryan wouldn't come out here and run at least two series. So same way Andy Dalton, that dude played, I think he played 3 series in that, or maybe 2 or 3. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see that, and yeah, just cut back on these penalties, and really give us some type of clue, because when you're downtrodden as this franchise is and our fan base is right now, even if it's just preseason, we need some hope, man. We need some flashes of like, okay, this is going to be something good. You know what I mean? Because we're downtrodden right now. We've had 2 miserable seasons, and we need something.
Yeah, I mean, not to mention losing your franchise's best player ever in that offseason.
We're down right now.
We need something. You're right. We need something to be able to like that. That's what we're going to look at and be like,
right.
This is what
so we
we're
don't come back here next week and just talk about the defense again.
Right. Well, the defense looked pretty good. I don't know what to expect on offense because, Matt Ryan didn't play again, but boy, AJ McCarron sure is trash. Micah, what do you need to see from this game?
I want to see more balance. I want to see us try to emphasize the run game, because that was one of the problems that frustrated me. As bad as AJ looked, we didn't try to run the ball at all, and it was just like, bro, we're down like 7. Run the ball. Just try to run the ball. Do something. Like, I get it. You're in 2nd and long, but stop trying to pass the ball, because AJ is not getting you anywhere. I want to see the offensive line look a little better. But I mean, if we get some balance, then if we're able to run the ball, then naturally we're going to be better overall. That means the offensive line is probably playing a lot better. And I want to see receivers. I want to see some of the starters or the guys who are actually going to get reps. I want to see them play better. That's what matters to me, because it'll give me some hope. And like I already have an idea of how much better the defense is going to be. I need to see how Arthur Smith has changed that offense for the better.
So you're saying you're not satisfied with us getting 117 rushing yards, but 76 of them coming from your 3rd string quarterback?
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
I mean,
on one play, like
52 on one play.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, and then I think AJ McCarron was our 3rd leading rusher or something like that.
Like who are we? Who are we? The Ravens now? Are we just gonna run the read option and just
option with Felipe Franks?
Yeah,
the biggest read option quarterback ever.
Bruh, I will say that one play though, where he was he threw the pass, and the linebacker or something came on the blitz. He just stiff armed him to the ground.
Like, man, he sunned him on that stiff arm. It was like, ooh.
I was like, bruh, I haven't seen a quarterback stiff arm of linebacker to the ground like that since probably Jared Lorenzen, the hefty lefty. R.I.P.
I think Ben got someone one time too.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Man, it might have been another one.
Marco, what you got? What do you want to see out of this game?
Oh, he
already went.
I know, you're up again.
Oh, I want to see how our because Tua, watching that first preseason game. By the way, Chicago should not lose a single preseason game. They got Justin Fields, Andy Dalton, and Nick Foles as their 3 quarterbacks. Like, they should not lose a single preseason game. But watching that Bears Miami game, Tua is healthier this season. He's out here looking like a more athletic Drew Brees. So with someone as dynamic as him and accurate, I want to see how our linebackers and DBs react to his ability to, I'll be interested to see how he reacts to our diverse pressure and how we react to his ability to get the ball out quickly. So that'll be interesting for me to see.
Yeah. I mean, I think when they were coming out, they kind of compared Tua to Drew Brees, right? As far as his abilities and his stature.
Yeah, but it was hard to see in that first year. I mean,
coming off of hip surgery and all that type of stuff. That was a good comparison, though. I like that. I'm going to go. Micah kind of covered that. Let's go with how our offensive line matches up with their front seven, because they're, like I had mentioned before, they're not an elite front seven, but they've got some bodies in there that can really put some pressure on you. And really, their front, they're 3 down linemen in this 3-4 front. They're all big, they're strong, and they're athletic. Mm-hmm. Like, you got Christian Wilkins on the edge. You've got, I want to say Ogba on the other side. And then they've got the big boy Raekwon Davis in the middle, who at his size is athletic as well and very strong. So, and I think they even got, let me look. Yeah, they got John Jenkins as a backup nose tackle as well. So if they want to throw a big body in there to stuff the run.
Big old John Jenkins.
So I want to see how our interior offensive linemen, first I want to see our starters out there, but I want to see how the interior of our offensive line holds up, whether they can generate a push against them, or if not a push, use that athleticism to get out on these stretch plays, these zone read plays, and get the edge on these bigger guys and create some running lanes for our running backs. And I want to see Mike Davis get out there and get some cutbacks, because he's shifty. A lot of people think that Mike Davis is just a straight ahead, run through you type of running back. Mike Davis has got some shiftiness to him. So it could be good if our offensive line gets it together. And if we don't get it this preseason game, it might be time to look at the free agent offensive lineman pool. Micah, what's your next one?
I'm in this, well, I do want to see, I also want to see the running backs. I do want to see what we got. Now granted, I know you're not going to show too much. I want to see how they utilize Cordero in the backfield, out of the backfield. I want to see Mike Davis. I want to see Kadri. Mm-hmm. Show me Kadri. Stop hiding Kadri. I need to see what this improved running style they said.
Is he hurt or something?
No.
He's just, I think that shows because last game, as we didn't play potential starters, you didn't see Kadri. You saw Javian Hawkins, you saw Ball, you saw another guy that I was like, who?
Caleb Huntley.
Yeah. So
from Louisville. He's actually, I don't know. He's an Atlanta native, so I know he's hoping he makes.
I think Deontay even got some carries last week too. Deontay Foreman.
Mm-hmm.
So the Kadri, we've been waiting long enough to see Kadri. I think it's about time that we see some Kadri Allison.
I demand Kadri Allison gets in the game.
We're waiting 3 years now.
Hey, we know why the other guy wouldn't use him. Dirk Cutt is an idiot, so he wasn't going to use him. I need to see him play.
Marco, you got one more for us? What you want to see?
I said penalties. I said how we reacted to. I want to see a win. Let's get a win, man.
I like it. I'll give you one more before we move on and get onto the prediction here. I want to see how those wide receivers that Micah mentions matches up against this potentially elite secondary. If Xavier Howard plays this game, if they somehow manage to get him on the field and they sign him, I would love to see Ridley versus him. I would like to see Gage matched up against Byron Jones. And then, like I mentioned before, Kyle Pitts and Hurst matched up against these safeties and linebackers. So I just want to see something, because I have a feeling game 3 we're not going to see too much. I would like to see a half of football from our starters and just get used to what we're going to be looking at, especially from the passing game with Matt Ryan leading it. Real quick, let's go win, loss, and score. Micah, what do you think how this game's going to
go? I say loss. 17-14. I think we'll have the game. We'll have a lead, and then when the backups come in, we'll wind up. It'll technically be a loss. But I think the first 2 units will play fairly well, and they'll have a lead.
win 14-16.
I'm going to go loss 31-17, but like I have the same feeling with Micah. With our starters in, it's gonna be a dead heat with them. But once they switch it over to that second unit and you see Jacoby Brissett come out and lead them, I don't think
Jacoby looked really bad.
Yeah, but we've seen Jacoby do good things before. We know he's not that bad. He's safe.
He looked. I was like, he was so bad. I was like, who is that guy? I was like, oh, is that Jacoby? What in the hell?
Yeah, they've got granted this is his first year in that system, but I think he can get out and beat a vanilla defense pretty handily, especially against a team like us where we're not as deep as others, maybe in some areas.
Hell, the last time we played him, he looked like a damn world beater.
Yeah, he carved us up.
I do wonder, because I know, like, for the most part, the game one especially, there was no scouting. It was just like go out there and play. Since we're practicing with them for the whole week, I wonder if we're actually gonna do a little scouting and a little, just to get people in the mode. I wonder how much of that there's gonna be.
Yeah. So, do you guys want to take a quick break and do the position, or you want to do the position preview now?
Might as well do it now because we can't jam 3 things into the second half.
Yeah. Let's run through this. We won't go as in depth as last time because I know that took about a solid hour to do last time. But today we've got and actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to start making these into videos for our YouTube and put them up there so they're more easily consumed. And we can talk about it and put some graphics up with them. But today we're going to talk about a position group that is very young but has a lot of potential in it and could possibly be the surprise position group of the season for us, and that's the secondary. We've invested a lot of picks into it the last couple of years because it's been a position of need. We've also jettisoned a lot of players that we've thought were going to be long-term solutions for us, and we're looking at a brand new era here with that Falcons secondary. So with a new scheme, especially with one as aggressive as Dean Pease, and with Dean Pease being such a great teacher on how to play that secondary and how to be aggressive in those spots and be in the right spot, I think it's be one of those positions that can or position groups, that can really stand out and make some plays for us this season. Before we get into it, Mike, I know you've got some things to say about this group. What do you think, and what do you like about this group or dislike?
I actually really like. I'm more confident in this secondary than I have been in a while. Even though on paper, they were the worst pass defense in the league last year. I think I saw glimpses of good from them once Dan Quinn got fired. A lot of them grew. Like Oliver started to finally look like the guy we thought he was going to be. Kendall Sheffield had his ups and downs, but I think he's just his lack of size is his biggest thing. But I believe Dean Pease will utilize them to their abilities. Like I said, most of these guys, when we draft Dan Quinn, all of these guys we drafted from Dan Quinn came from schools that were predominantly man press corners. But in Dan Quinn's system, they very rarely played man press. Most of the time they played like cover 3, or, even when they played man, they played off ball a lot of times. So like with Dean Pease, he is very aggressive. And a lot of his pressure is based on the defense, on the secondary. So he's going to press, he's going to throw off your receiver's timing to buy time for his pass rush to get home. And so I think they'll be a lot better. I think we'll start to see them really start to show up and be a lot better this year. So
yeah, I agree. Marco, I know you've got some strong opinions on some of the secondary players as well. So before you get into it, what do you got anything that you want to say, or you want to dive right in?
What, just as overview?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that, obviously we have one guy that I would consider a star plus. And then we have a lot of young guys who need, who are going to have the ability to prove themselves. And then we have one guy who really, in Izzy, who really needs to, step up to a level where we can rely on him. Obviously he does nice things with his length and his athleticism, but he has not yet put it all together. So I really want to see Isaiah Oliver become, maybe in this DMP system that will happen, but I want to see him take a big step. But other than that, I don't have a lot of confidence in this because obviously, like you said, Micah, you don't go from worst to first just like that. But there's a lot of circumstances that are different than usuals. Obviously we changed the whole staff. We added some pieces. So, I'm not expecting a lot out of these guys, but I want to see more than worst in the league, obviously.
Yeah. All right. So let's start talking about the people that make up this secondary and start talking about what their roles can possibly be and how they're going to be used. So first we'll start off with that guy that we all are very familiar with and we all are very high on, and that's AJ Terrell. Coming out of Clemson, we expected him to be, well, some of us did. Some of us were a little uncertain. A lot of the Atlanta fan base weren't too sure why we drafted him at that position. But I think
Who's this guy?
Yeah, honestly, why he got toasted? It's like, yeah, he was going against the Heisman winning quarterback and the best wide receiver in college.
Right. People forget that he was in that game in the first place. It's like, oh, how do you get to the championship game without being great?
And more than likely had COVID. Honestly, he played the game with COVID. A lot of people forget that because he was sick with the mysterious high temperature and body aches, and he was playing in the national championship game of that. But anyway, so AJ started to really show last year and really had flashes for the reason that we took him at that spot. He's a strong physical corner. He is an excellent man press corner and very instinctual out of those zone plays or zone coverages. And last year showed out. As a rookie, he didn't, a lot of people are like, oh, he only had 3 or 1 interception. He didn't do much, but a rookie number 1 corner in a system that generated absolutely no pressure up front, he did excellent, and especially in the run game. He's a guy who's not afraid to put his nose on the football and really get after guys, especially in the flats. He will light somebody up. I remember watching a video when we drafted him by, I'm blanking on his name, but I'll come to me here in a little bit. But he's a guy here in Atlanta that does a lot of sports or football coverage from the youth. And he's like, look, this guy should play safety. He could be an all-pro safety with the way he hits. And you saw it. He came up and lit some guys up and is just a really aggressive corner. And I think he's really going to stand out this year. We're going to move him all over. I don't think it's going to be like the old Dan Quinn era where you've got, this corner's on the right side, this corner's on the left side. You're going to see guys follow people this year and move them all up. So I think AJ is going to be that X factor in that secondary to where he can really show what he can do for us. Last year, it was his career high, though, with 74 tackles, 1 interception, 7 passes defended, and 3 forced fumbles, which is pretty high for a corner. 3 forced fumbles is really big or really high.
Is that when is PD passes defended or deflected?
Passes. Yeah,
defense or deflected. It's pretty much the same thing.
If you're there and just making a tackle, it doesn't count as a defense. You got to get your hand on the ball and get it out of there and knock it away.
Okay.
You'd like to see that, that number probably be in the mid-teens next year. That would be a really good season. And if he got that up and his interceptions into the 5-6 range, you're probably looking at a Pro Bowl vote or caliber season. So that's going to be exciting. Micah
throw us away.
Yeah, exactly. Micah, what are you expecting to see out of AJ in a Dean Pease system?
I mean, I honestly expect him to be a beast. I think he, not quite. What's his name?
Gilmore.
Yeah, not quite Gilmore, but he'll look like a younger version, like a developing version of like a Gilmore. I don't think he quite has the intelligence of a Gilmore.
He's not as big as Gilmore either.
Well, yeah. But I mean, even still, like Gilmore sets up stuff, and like he'll see how players are lined up, and he'll adjust his leverage based off of, formations and stuff like that. I don't think he has the savvy and not in football knowledge, because he hasn't been playing nearly as long as Gilmore. But I think, just sheer coverage wise, I think he could be like a Stephon Gilmore.
I misspoke. He's actually bigger than Gilmore, 5 pounds.
Oh yeah.
Gilmore looks big. Looks bigger than he is. Marco, you want to add anything to that?
Like I said, I feel like we have one star on our team, and that's him, or one star on our defense, and our secondary, and that's him. So I only expect him to get better. So anything less would be very disappointing.
Yeah. We'll move on to the next guy here, and that's Fabian Moreau. He's probably more than likely going to be our number 2 corner here, coming out of the Washington football team last year. Had an up and down season. They moved him around a lot. They tried to figure out where they were going to use him. He's played safety. He's played nickel. He's played outside. He is a guy that if you told me he came out and had, 50, 60 tackles and 9 interceptions, I wouldn't be surprised. But if you also told me that he came out and had 30 tackles, 1 interception, and got buried on the depth chart, I wouldn't be shocked either. He's got all the talent. You saw him at UCLA really stand out there, and there's a reason he got drafted in the 2nd round. Just be an absolute beast, but it's never really panned out for him. He always had a lot of potential to be there. It was just like, that was constantly what you heard from Fabian. Got a ton of speed, got a lot of the tools to be a good corner, but never put it all together. So we'll see. I don't know if y'all really want to say too much about him. I would say let's keep it moving, unless y'all are really big Fabian Moreau fans and you want to bury me for my take on him.
No, you got it.
Yeah, the size and athleticism, but it's inconsistent.
Right. I remember a Washington fan talking about, if you play him in the slot, you're dumb, because that's where he just gets toasted all the time, which doesn't make any sense because he's got so much agility, so much quickness, so much speed. You would think he would thrive there, but some people just don't do well there. Just like you thought Isaiah Oliver wouldn't be a good fit there and would be better outside. But, here we are. So speaking about, I'm sorry. And Fabian Moreau's career high was in 2019 with Washington with 44 tackles, 3 interceptions, and 5 passes defended. But speaking of that nickel guy that we saw last year, we move on to Isaiah Oliver, a guy that me and Marco have the same highlight burned in our memory banks forever with Isaiah Oliver. Who we thought was going to be a really good guy, hasn't quite lived up to that yet, but just like AJ Terrell is not afraid to put his nose in there and really come in and make a hit, a really solid tackler. And I think that's why he really thrived in that nickel spot, because it put him close to the line, got him more into a position where he was more comfortable and not worried about getting toasted on the outside. Probably looking like he's going to be our nickel again this year. I wouldn't be too mad about it. Post career highs last year with 62 tackles, 0 interceptions, but 11 passes defended, which is really good. And those long arms come in handy there in that slot position or that nickel position, and 1 forced fumble. Micah,
so was that from 2019 or 2020? You said it says 2019.
Yeah, I believe that's 2019. Okay. So Micah, I know you were really high on this guy, and you have a lot of things in some games that stuck out to you. What do you think about him and what he could bring to us this next season?
I saw glimpses last year after Dan Quinn got fired, he started to improve. He started to catch on, and I don't think they simplified the game for him. I think they just improved the game plan. It wasn't just drop back into coverage and just stand there and like, oh yeah, well we got 30, you got to cover your receiver for 10 seconds because we're not going to get any pressure on the quarterback and whatnot. So I think last year, the game that stood out to me was the Chiefs game. And there were several times where I watched him because Tyreek Hill was in the slot and he was lined up directly against him, and he held his own. I think Tyreek Hill had 4 catches for like 72 yards, and I believe like 30 plus came on 2 plays. One was a screen play, and the other was a kind of a short throw. Actually, the other one was on AJ Terrell. It was like a little hook route that he caught underneath, and AJ missed the tackle, and he wound up getting 30, 40 yards on the play. So, like I said, so the fact that he pretty much matched up with Tyreek Hill, who is much faster than he is, it showed me that it showed me that his technique and his confidence had improved, not even tenfold, like 100-fold. It was crazy.
Yeah, because I mean, the physical abilities and the measurements have always been there for Oliver. Mm-hmm. That's the reason we took him in the second round. He's got almost 34-inch arms. He runs a 4.5, has a vertical out of this world. It's just, could he put it all together? So, Marco, you juxtapose your Tyreek Hill highlights of Isaiah Oliver to that preseason game that we both went to. What are your expectations for him?
I think at his worst, Isaiah Oliver looks like he's overthinking things. And at his best, like Micah said, once Dan Quinn was gone, it's not necessarily that it was simplified, but I think it just made more sense. So I think that he'll excel in a system that caters to what he's good at doing, which I think Dean Pease will do. And he looked pretty good in that last quarter of the season. So I'm not expecting him to go back to that confused player that we've seen a couple times in certain games. Even the highlight I thought you were talking about wasn't he the one where all he had to do was tackle a player, or no, he just had to stay inside of the player. And
you're talking about the AJ Green play?
Yeah, all he had to do is that's when I
played way too far back and just like, what are you doing? It's the end zone or nothing here, and you're 5 yards in it. Yeah,
that's the highlight to me that's etched in my mind.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think
that was really bad.
Yeah, I think he can only get better as well, and I'm expecting him to, just because, like you said, his measurables are incredible, and that the 11 passes defended are evidence of his ability to rake that ball out and get in between the ball and his defender. So he's a gem to be used. So, and I expect him to be used well.
Yeah. I think at his absolute best, Isaiah Oliver could be AJ Bouye. I think that's what he could be. Whether he becomes that or not, we'll see. Schemes can make or break cornerbacks, though, and that's very evident. That's why you see, for anyone who's been watching football long enough, look at Nnamdi Asomugha with the Raiders versus the Eagles. You're talking about a lockdown. This is where the best corner in the NFL to what happened to Nnamdi. So,
or any of those Seattle cornerbacks who were opposite of Richard Sherman.
Right.
As soon as they left Seattle, it was just like, man, that guy disappeared from the league quick.
Yeah.
Even Duke Riley looks semi-competent with the Eagles. After seeing him for those years here, we're like, does this guy play football? It's like
he's just a guy with the mullet.
Right.
Look at that blonde mullet. All right. So moving on to a guy who, again, splash plays, but also lots of plays that makes you wonder what happened. And that's Kendall Sheffield, who in the second half of last year, a lot of teams started to target. A lot of teams really exposed him and decided that he was the weakest link of that secondary. And they're staying away from AJ and they're staying away from Oliver. And Kendall really got exposed so bad that they had to yank him at times and put in Bloody Ray Wilson. So if that happens to you, it's never a good sign. Kendall's a stout little cornerback. He's about 5'10", 5'11", I think at 205-ish pounds. So he's a thicker cornerback, but he's got some long speed to him. And, we'll see. I'm still not sold on Kendall. I wasn't too convinced when we drafted him, and I had a lot of question marks. I watched his tape, didn't get it. I think he was the benefactor of just being on a really good Buckeyes defense, and he's good to play with on Madden because he's fast. But as far as the NFL goes, it's like when are we going to see the reason that you were an NFL, draft pick? So I've got a lot of question marks for him. I hope he stands out. You haven't heard too much about him in camp, which can go either way, but we'll see here. He posted career highs last year with 51 tackles, 0 interceptions, 3 passes defended, and 1 forced fumble. Again, another corner that's not afraid to come in and make a tackle. So we have a theme there, except for Fabian Moreau. We got 3 corners who will come up and make a play in the running game. It's just, that's not what you employ these guys for. So, Marco, what's your expectations for Kendall Sheffield? What do you think we can get out of him? Or is he even worth worrying about anymore?
I mean, he's just a slightly above average rotational guy. I mean, he's a decent piece, but I wouldn't say I have any expectations for Kendall Sheffield other than, try not to mess up too bad. Don't get targeted, don't get penalties, that kind of thing that you would expect from a guy. Don't hurt us. Just help us, or be a net zero, or help us. Don't hurt us.
Yeah, and then last season you saw him hurt us a lot.
Yeah.
Micah, what you got for us on your boy Kendall Sheffield?
I believe when we drafted him, I believe one of the things they said about him was, athletically, he's a little undersized. He was extremely gifted, but he had a problem. Like he had he lacked awareness when playing the ball. So it was just like whenever the ball was thrown, he'd be in good position, but he just didn't know when to look back, didn't know put his hand up and stuff like that. So he had no ball skills whatsoever. And I mean, it's good that you have that he's fit, he can play physical, but you got to have some ball skills. I mean, that's what separates him from a cornerback like Robert Alford, who was here for so long, because Alford at least had ball skills. Alford was small, fast, and whatnot, but Alford had ball skills. If he could sense the ball coming, then he can at least make a play on it. But he held a lot. But Kendall Sheffield is like, I can run with everybody, I can be physical with everybody, but I don't know whenever the ball's coming, I'm oblivious. So.
Kendall will hold him too, man. He became a little bit of a penalty magnet there in the second half. It was either a completion or a penalty down the stretch there for Kendall. Yeah. And you just can't be that as a corner, because you're I mean, all honesty, you can get that out of anyone coming into the NFL.
It's automatic first down.
Yeah, and actually the next guy up here on our list, Darren Hall, could easily replace him if he puts the work in. He kind of reminds me of DeMonte KZ, but more of a, truly suited for that corner position. He's going to take some work. He's going to take some time at San Diego State, and there's another similarity to him and our affinity for San Diego State corners for whatever reason. Falcons always got one of them.
Regardless of the regime.
Yeah, that doesn't matter who it is. We're going to get us a San Diego State corner in the draft in like the 5th or 6th round. But probably don't expect too much from him this season unless he just drastically improves. Little undersized, doesn't really, and when I say this, hear me out. He's not really an NFL cornerback yet. He was an athlete in college that matched up against inferior competition and used that. He had a lot of footwork problems. He had a lot of route mimicking problems, and was just able to keep up with athletes that weren't as good as him. He improved throughout the time there, but he's got a lot of work to do. So you'll probably see him either be stashed on the practice squad or just be carried from that roster, in just in case someone gets hurt and they fill in. He did have a really good season in his senior year, though. I'm sorry, his junior year, where he had 49 tackles, 1 interception, and 16 passes defended with 2 forced fumbles in San Diego State. But again, I attribute a lot of that, and if you watch his tape, you'll see it. He's flawed in a lot of ways, and he would get absolutely cooked by a real NFL receiver. He's got a lot of work to do. But we'll see. We'll see. I've been wrong on corners before. They're a hard position to evaluate, especially coming out of those smaller schools. I want to hear y'all's opinion on it if y'all got one, but he's a guy that's a little lesser known, so I'd be surprised if y'all got an in-depth one on him.
You said what I thought at the end. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll definitely see.
Yeah. Now, speaking of a guy we'll see about, Avery Williams out of Boise State here. We drafted him as a returner. That was really the reason we grabbed him. He is an elite return man, but he will be holding a roster spot. He'll be taking up a corner spot for us. And he has potential to be a guy that if you need to throw him in there in nickel spots on a rush or down on the goal line, he excels as well because he's a physical guy. He can get in there and give you a spot fill. Real aggressive in man coverage. His zone, if you ask him to play zone, you're asking to give up a big play. He doesn't have that ability to drop back in zone and make instinctual plays on the ball. In 2018, he posted a career high with 49 tackles, 2 interceptions, 9 passes defended, and 3 forced fumbles. Now, you can't really write that off because Boise State does play some competition, but they don't play him consistently enough to be like, okay, yeah, he put up really good numbers. So, corner-wise, he's a project return guy. He's really going to provide something special for us, especially on punt returns. Kick returns, he stands no chance. That's Cordero's job. But punt returns, expect him to really show out this season. Micah, what you got for us on Avery?
Just watching him in the preseason game, I like him as a returner. Whoever we had that first half returning kicks,
Rowland,
yeah. Was it Chris Rowland or
Chris
whatever?
Rowland, yep.
It wasn't impressive at all. And then Avery came in and he was make a couple guys miss, and he's getting us to the 35 yard line on kick returns and stuff. And I'm like, all right, so Rowland looked trash. He's supposed to be explosive. He looked bad, and Avery Williams is explosive. As far as even if he doesn't develop as a corner, a good returner is something that we've been missing since Devin Hester. And we had Kenyon Barner was solid for us that one season,
but he wasn't in a Dan Quinn scheme. You can't have Kenyon because Dan wanted people to fair catch it and just get off the field.
Yeah. But Kenyon had flashes, but we haven't legitimately had a great kick returner since Devin Hester. So the fact that we have 2 in Cordero and Avery looks like he'll be an explosive addition for us. So I'm excited about him.
Marco?
Yeah, that was one of my positives that I forgot to mention. Our kick return game looked more alive than it has for the last 5-6 years. Yeah. So and Avery was a lot of that. Like you said, he'll probably be more inclined to the punt return at first, but I think he could easily be a featured kick returner as well. I mean, he had 3 returns for 85 yards, 28.3 a return. I mean, that's just something. So I'm excited about that. In terms of his corner play, we'll see if he can crack into that and maybe get into the rotation. But I'm more excited about his special teams prowess than anything else.
And he's actually a hellified goal line or a kick blocking guy off the edge. He had, I want to say he blocked 3 field goals while in college. And then he also, as you've seen, returned many a punt and many a kickoff for a touchdown. So he's got the potential to make huge impacts on this team. Maybe not so much as an actual corner, but since that is his listed position, we have to include him here and mention his contributions. That moves us on to the quarterbacks of the defense, and those are the safeties. 2 of these guys will kind of glaze over. Well, not glaze over. We'll talk about them and then really talk about the future of this group, because when we signed Eric Harris, I don't think anyone really jumped out of their seat and said, yeah, he is the future at free safety for us, because he's never done anything spectacular in the NFL, but he's never been a problem either. He's just one of those guys that you can throw in there, expect him to, as Marco says, be a net zero. He's not going to kill you, but he's also not going to win you a lot of games. He'll make some plays here and there, but if you're expecting him to come out and be, Earl Thomas or, hell, even a lower, more of the middle of the pack, better safety, that's just not him. He's a veteran safety who's going to get you some good reps, teach the young guys something, and you can fall back on him if these young guys don't pan out right away or aren't ready right away, and throw him in there in this scheme and do well. He did pretty good last year in Oakland, and the year before that was his career highs with 74 tackles, 3 interceptions, and 8 passes defensed, which is pretty good for a free safety, but doesn't leap off the tape for you in any particular way. Y'all got anything to say about Mr. Eric Harris?
You covered that pretty well.
All right. So let's move on to the guy at free safety that we're all very excited to see, and we hope steps on the field very early, and that's number 27, Mr. Richie Grant out of the University of Central Florida, who is an absolute ball hawk, who, when we saw his tape, the fact that we didn't get Trayvon Moore made us scratch our head a bit. But when we watched his tape, we were like, oh, okay, I can live with this guy. Mm-hmm. Trayvon, lacked size and had those ball skills, but Richie has the size and the ball skills, and he makes plays in the passing game, the running game. He's all over the field. Probably the absolute best he could be in his career would probably be an Earl Thomas. He could be that type of impactful free safety that plays center field, is all over the place. I don't think he could ever reach Ed Reed aspirations, but, being Earl Thomas is not a bad comparison either. Rangy. So, yeah, very, very rangy, very instinctual. When you drop him back in that center field, there's no false steps. He's reading the quarterback's eyes, and he's taking away receivers without showing it to the quarterback and getting in there and making plays on the ball. His career high was in 2018 with 108 tackles, 6 interceptions, 3 tackles for loss, 3 passes defensed, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 fumble recovery. And that was as a sophomore. So the guy's got special talent. And Micah, I'm interested to see what you think he's going to do for us at that free safety position.
Oh, I have very high expectations for Richie. Like you said, watching the tape on him, he's a special athlete. He has the ball hawking ability that I thought we were going to get from Casey, and but I mean he's got more size. He can hit. I'm excited. I'm really excited. I think he is the kind of safety that I've wanted us to have for a long time. And if Pease does what I think he's going to do as far as developing him, oh man, we could have a very special safety.
Marco, I know you're an avid UCF watcher. So what do you think of Mr. Richie Grant?
I think, Richie has the talent, to be a superstar at that position. But, it remains to be seen, right? Because he did play at UCF. I know there were the national championships and probably his time that is national
undefeated, baby.
Undefeated. But, so it's a big jump, but he has the skills that he needs to compete on any level. So I think there's high expectations for him. And he's going to immediately be asked to deliver. Because out of these names, he's the most talented name in our safety core, and he hasn't even suited up yet. So we'll see what it is, but I expect a lot from Richie Grant, and he has a cool name.
Marco, I'm sensing a theme with your view on our secondary. It's a lot of we'll see. In true Falcons fashion, you're like, I don't want to get too excited and be hurt, so we'll see. So let's move it on over to Mr. Big Play, Mr. Clutch, and that's Duron Harmon, the strong safety / free safety / just playmaker that we brought over from the New England Patriots, who has a ton of experience in this Dean Pease system. / New England system because after Dean Pease left, they continued to employ it. So this is the guy that we brought in and we said, you know what? He's not going to be a really big flashy play or a splashy move, but he's going to come in and he's going to make us immensely better. He's going to make the younger guys around him better. And he's going to show up when the game's on the line. He's not afraid to step up and make big plays because he made big play after big play after big play in New England. But he was never that guy that was, 8, 9 interceptions on the year and getting Pro Bowl votes. But he was ending games. He was making the right plays. He was constantly in positions, and people weren't throwing to his side of the field because he was there. He was making his coverages. He's not a guy that jumps off the charts as far as athleticism goes. He's not a guy that as far as just measurements go. You look at him, you go, all right, well, we can probably get a big receiver over there and or a big tight end match on him, and we can win that matchup. And sometimes that's the case, but most of the time, because he's so fundamentally sound and he knows where he's supposed to be, those plays aren't there to be made. So he's not going to be the guy that you constantly see on tape and say, damn it, Duron, what are you doing there? So this is the reason we brought him in. He's the stabilizer. I think that's what I want to call him this season for that secondary. He is that stabilizing factor that, it's going to be like, hey, AJ, you're too far inside. Hey, funnel him in this way. Hey, linebackers, let's be here on this play. He's going to be that guy making those calls for us because he's
Rico?
Yeah. I mean, he's a Rico fill-in. Honestly, that's a really good comparison because Rico didn't have the physical skills, but he was always in the right place and making those fundamental plays on the ball. And that's what we brought in, except I would say Duron's maybe a little more versatile than Rico just because he's got a little more size to him. So, Marco, I know you were jumping up and down when we signed Duron Harmon, and you were super excited. What you got for us, though?
Like you said, it's good to have that veteran, the real seasoned veteran, not AJ McCarron type season.
Yet again, throwing AJ McCarron under the bus this episode.
He needs to be under the train. Shit.
That choo-choo, that big choo-choo we hear every time. AJ knows where he belongs. But so Duron Harmon, I think it's good to have that stabilizing force back there who can sort of guys like Richie Grant, guys like even Isaiah, some of these guys, he can give them confidence and reinforce, the scheme. You know what I mean? Even though, like you said, he has experience in this, so he's gonna know some of the ins and outs of it, and he's gonna be able to help the guy. So you always need that guy because your safeties have to be hella smart. So you always need that guy back there who's the quarterback telling everybody where they need to be and where they need to go. So he's gonna play a big role. Obviously it's not, we're not gonna ask him to do everything. He's gonna play a huge role and guiding our talent and the fate of our safeties is a big part of what he's gonna be able to help them understand.
Yeah. Micah, what you think of Mr. Duron Harmon?
Duron Harmon, I was actually a fan of his because I think, was it the Rams Patriots Super Bowl? And he was the safety. I believe he was the safety that caught the interception in the end zone where or was that him or was that McCourty?
I think that was McCourty.
It was a pass interference. It should have been a pass interference, but they Brandon Cooks had the corner beat, and I think But I
talking about late in the game.
Yeah,
that was Gilmore, I think.
It wasn't Gilmore. I want to. It was a safety who got the interception, but I can't remember if it was Harmon or. But I specifically remember Duron Harmon icing games for them, and he was even though he couldn't consistently beat out like Patrick Chung, whenever he came in the game, he made plays. So he knows the system. And
I think Ryan was right. The only interception in the game is credited to Stephon Gilmore.
Oh, okay.
I thought that was Gilmore.
Or it might have just been a bat down. It might have just been a deflection. But Duran, but like you said, whenever he made plays and he knows the system and he can help develop some of these younger guys, i.e. the Richie Grants and the Jalen Hawkins, especially develop them in this scheme and help them know where they need to be, what they're looking for, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and I think the next guy and the last guy on our list here, he's going to have a heavy influence on him because Jalen Hawkins, coming out of college, he was a very flashy guy, but he lacked a lot of consistency, which is, the polar opposite of Duron Harmon, who is Mr. Consistent, but didn't have a lot of splash plays here and a lot of highlight plays. But Jalen, as we had mentioned earlier in the show, has shown a lot of durability and a lot of versatility this season. And here's a guy that can really play a lot of different roles for us and potentially push Duron Harmon for a lot of playing time just because of how athletic he is and his ability just to dislodge the ball from people, because Jalen Hawkins can smack people. And I mean, smack people. So I'm excited to see what we can get out of him. He posted his career high in 2018 in college with 32 tackles, 6 interceptions, 4 passes defensed. And if you haven't seen the highlight from Jalen Hawkins of his 1 interception, look it up, where he just shows his athleticism with that one-handed pick, and he just got to the ball. I think it was like 20 yards that he ran to make a play on it. So very special player, or could be a very special player for us. And a potential future of Richie Grant and Jalen Hawkins could be in the Falcons' future, and we could be in good hands for quite some time if they develop into what we think they can be. Micah, what you got on Jalen Hawkins?
I mean, you said it. Dude is a very freak athlete. I mean, the tools are there. The physical tools are there. He just he's got to get that up to speed, get his mental, his knowledge and awareness and everything up to speed. And he could potentially be a very, very good safety.
Marco?
Yeah, same. I mean, you always got to have that thumper in your safety room. And like you said, he just needs to, get some of his instinctual elements, in coverage, a little bit tighter. But yeah, I think, with his athleticism and youth and Richie Grant together, like you said, that can be a very promising duo back there, making us feel safe.
Yeah.
For years to come.
If we can get those two on there, or out there on the field pretty consistently, and have them live up to that potential, that could be a secondary that's something to really be afraid of. With AJ on one side, maybe Fabian or Oliver on the other, and then those two guys up top playing center field or down in the box, it could be really, really cool. Or blitzing, one of them surprise blitzing.
Blitz.
But that brings us to the end of the Grit Splits.
Grit Splits.
That was fairly long. I'm going to try and, get these last 2 position groups into YouTube videos for us here in the future and get that out there. And, maybe I'll turn it into something that we do more often. But we appreciate y'all sticking around for that long first half. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to get into some MLB and then wrap it up with some NBA. We appreciate y'all. Make sure to like and subscribe. And we'll see you in a little bit after the break. Peace. All right, then. Thanks for sticking around. Welcome to the second half. We're going to talk a little bit of baseball. Talk about them red hot Braves. We're going to get into some NBA offseason stuff. Probably dip back into the summer league just a tiny bit more, and then we're going to get out of here.
I don't know what you keep promising.
No, I want to talk about it. I'm going to talk about
it.
I'm going to talk about it. So let's go ahead and get our peanuts and Cracker Jacks ready.
Well, you know that means it's time for the Suicide Squeeze, MLB segment of the show, the most fun segment of the show, I like to say. So first and foremost, we're going to kick this off with the craziness that is the MLB. Trevor Bauer. So his court case has begun, and needs to say things don't look very good for Trevor Bauer. Even it's to the point where things are getting very heated, and even if he does manage to not do jail time for the incident he was involved in, more than likely the league will bring down harsh punishments on him for according to because he violated their domestic violence policy at least he's at least looking at receiving a harsh punishment for domestic violence. So my question to y'all is, do y'all think that he can eventually bounce back, or do you think this might be the thing that pretty much just ends his career?
Are you talking about bouncing back, like just in general, being able to play again in the MLB, or do you think this could potentially get in his head?
Well, like be able to play again and play close to the level he was, or is this pretty much just a death sentence?
I don't think either one would really surprise me, in all honesty, because pitchers are such fragile beasts, and if you take them out of their rhythm or get in their head whatsoever, you could wind up looking like Rick Ankiel out there. So I don't think we'll see him again this season. I think that would be too big of a blemish on the Dodgers and the MLB at all. Just like I would be shocked if we saw Acuna come back.
Ozuna,
sorry, yeah.
Watch out, man. Shocked. Watch out.
I would be really shocked if we saw Acuna come back.
They'd be like, damn, is there angels, magician?
Bionic knee.
Stem cell.
So, yeah, I mean, violence in general is something that you don't want to see representing your multi-million-dollar franchise, and especially not your multi-billion-dollar sport that is supposed to be one of the cleanest and most pristine games that we have here. At least that's the image they try and portray.
Traditional.
So, yeah, very traditional, very conservative. So I don't see that working. I would be really surprised if he, if this goes negatively, I'd be shocked to see the Dodgers not look at some type of arbitrator to try and void that contract.
Mm-hmm.
So, long answer short, yeah, I think this could derail his career for sure.
I think that, just based on what we saw, just based strictly on that alone, I don't think he should probably play again. He's already 30. And if the league really cares about the fact that of how their image is, they should not let this man ever suit up and make that kind of money again doing what he loves to do, because he lost that right. Obviously he's taking this money and abusing his power. But what I would say is that, if he doesn't get charges I don't know the details. I don't know if he's at a point where he could still settle or something like that. I don't think so. Right. That is beyond that. Right.
They're in a court case now. So yeah,
it's going to be a verdict. Right. So
yeah,
I think that regardless, I think somehow or another, maybe 2 or 3 years from now, maybe even a year from now, they'll find a way to sort of sweep this under the rug and he'll be back in the league playing. He probably won't be as good as he is. He'll be a little washed, but he'll be on some team, trying to compete and maybe even be on a team helping them, but I don't think he's done.
Personally, I think this may very well be the nail in the coffin of his career. Like you mentioned, he's 30 years old. So he's
no spring chicken.
Baseball you can play a little bit later, but he's later in his career. He's already slightly past his prime. So even if he does come back, I think he'll be 33, 34 years old, and yeah, he will definitely be past his prime. So I think even if somehow, he manages to come back in a year or two or say he does some jail time and play and doesn't play for another 3 years or so. Yeah, I don't see him being being able to come close to the same level of pitcher that he is now. So yeah, I think this incident may very well be the thing that completely throws his career off. So also while we're on Dodgers pitchers, the Dodgers brought in a former Braves / Phillies pitcher.
You mean con artist?
Yeah, he's a hustler. He hustle and flow, baby. So they brought in Cole Hamels, and 10 days after they signed Cole Hamels, he had to go on the 60-day injured list, which pretty much he was on all of last year. He made $18 million to pitch 3 innings last year, $6 million per inning. So yeah, he's just out here scamming teams out of money like a gold digging woman. So that's crazy. I don't know why, after what he did to us, what kind of manipulation? Man, I feel great. You should pay me $15 million. And then as soon as he gets there, man, I don't know what happened on the plane. My shoulder hurts.
I slept a little funny.
It has to be his agent, because I don't think he should be winning Oscars if he can really sit in front of a team and convince them that he's healthy. It has to be strictly his agent going in there and politicking for him, because there's no way he could look someone in the face and tell them he's really ready to contribute.
It's like he's got Rich Paul as his agent. I negotiate the best deals for my guys. Oh man. So Also, in other MLB news, MLB.com did an article listing the biggest difference makers on each team, and their choice for the Braves was surprisingly Travis d'Arnaud. Um, d'Arnaud has been out for most of the season, so for them to declare him as the biggest difference maker, kind of caught me off guard. I figured it would have been like Dansby or, Austin Riley, or even Freddie Free. One of the
Right. I mean,
one of the
Dansby
three of
has more
those.
ribbies than Freddie right now, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, Albies is leading the team in ribbies. I believe Albies is second in the league in RBIs. So, yeah, I mean, we've been getting a lot of production from those guys, and like I said, d'Arnaud just came back last week. So, I wouldn't necessarily say he's the biggest difference maker. Maybe the idea brought life to the team, or shoot. Even Adam Duvall, ever since we brought Duvall back, it's been like Freddie Freeman talked about it, said he's just one of those contagious personalities. What?
Albies is 6th in RBIs.
Oh, okay.
Just an article written by some dude. I got one of those in my section too. Some dude wrote this article.
Yeah.
Some guy.
Some guy over here just writing articles. I don't know who he is.
So, but now on to Braves news. So the Braves are riding a scorching hot, incendiary hot streak. So they've currently won 12 out of their last 15 games. So yeah, they are scorching hot. They've seen and other, so Huascar Inoa finally came back from the injured list. He's been out for several months, after he injured himself punching a bench. One of the stupidest injuries ever.
I'm so mad.
We gasped this.
So, but he started tonight. He had his first start tonight in like 3 months, and he won 2-0. So, I mean, that's a big thing. But the offense has really picked it up as of late. So Duvall last night's game alone, Duvall hit his 27th home run of the year. Freddie Free hit his 26th home run of the year. Other notable players, we have Austin Riley, I believe, has 25 home runs this season, and is batting 26, and is batting 292, I believe. Dansby Swanson, Dansby has been one of the brightest spots lately. Since July 22nd, he's been hitting 379 with a 1.123 OPS, which is on base percentage plus your slugging percentage, and he's hit 8 home runs and 28 RBIs. So, like, between them, Riley, Freddie Free, Albies, and then bringing Duvall back, who, an interesting stat about Duvall has homered in every Marlins Braves game this season. So whether he's played on the Marlins or on the Braves, he's hit a home run in every game. So yeah, it's actually been exciting. We're finally in first place now, and we're sitting atop on that mountain right now. So if we can keep this up for a few more, for another month or so to finish the season, round out the season strong, we can definitely win this division. Now, granted, a lot of so-called analysts, are proclaiming the Phillies to be the ones that they believe will win the division, but I guess because
with what defense?
Well, I think it's because of the lack of their bullpen, like their pitching staff has a little more consistent, and their lack of injuries. They're healthier than the Braves are. So I think that's the one reason why everybody kind of is leaning towards them. But the thing is, no, I don't know if there's a hotter team in baseball than the Braves right now. So
It was the Reds, but we beat them though. So we won that. Didn't we win that series?
Yeah.
2-1, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, and the Reds offense is very explosive, but the Braves can go toe to toe with them offensively. And not to mention, now that our bullpen hasn't been nearly as much of a liability as it was for most of the season, the bullpen has stepped up. Now it's starting to look like we're rounding into the team that we thought we'd be last year. So and we're doing it without Ozuna and Acuna, and we missed Inoa and Travis d'Arnaud for most of the season. So we're doing it. Oh, and Soroka. All of these key pieces that we've missed for either a good part of the season or pretty much all season, and we're still there. I know certain person who listens to us was highly critical of the trades and everything that we made before the trade deadline, but outside of what was the one outfielder we got? I can't think of his name right now.
Jorge Soler.
No, not Soler. It's the other. The one that hasn't played
from the Cleveland team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rosario.
Yeah. Outside of Eddie Rosario, all of every single one of those trades has produced for us, and it's been real refreshing. Like I said, they weren't big splash moves. They weren't. We didn't bring in Chris Bryant or like a huge name prospect or player, but the players we got have produced for us, and it's really refreshing. And like I said, I hope and believe, I truly believe that we'll keep this up, and hopefully we'll ride this hot streak all the way into a World Series championship. So
we were shopping at Goodwill and found some gems, baby.
Yeah. But sometimes that's what it takes though. You not always about names. Sometimes it's just about finding the right pieces to fit into a puzzle, and boom, it just, everything blows up and works in your favor. So
I want to
good.
I want to read this real quick though. Because I was looking it up, I was curious. So, over their last 30 games, Ozzie Albies is batting .268 with 7 home runs, 22 ribbies, 27 strikeouts, which is pretty on par for him, and 11 walks. Whereas, their last 10, both of these guys' last 10s are out of this world, but their last 30, it shows consistency. Dansby Swanson, over his last 30, has 8 home runs, 31 ribbies, 6 walks, 19 strikeouts, and batting .320. Mm-hmm. We may have, if Dansby has finally figured it out and finally hit that rhythm, man, I have no qualms saying this is the best infield in baseball. This might be the most talented team in baseball if those two finally get their consistency down.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that we're catching fire, though, in this stretch where we've played a couple bad teams in our division and picked up these games, build some momentum. And like Micah said, hopefully we can ride this flaming chariot all the way to a World Series title.
Well, that's another thing that I think a lot of the analysts don't really give us either. We probably have the most favorable schedule down the stretch out of anybody in our division. So we took the lead in the division, and we play a lot of teams that we can beat.
The last 6 games of the season go Mets and Phillies too, so we can.
Yeah, you can really create some ground, cover some ground there. So yeah, I mean, it's a favorable schedule. A lot of things are working in our favor right now as far as trying to win this division. And if we make the playoffs, like I said, if we're still this hot, if we make the playoffs and we're still this hot, oh man, I think especially with all the things that have happened to the Dodgers lineup. All that money that they spent, they've pretty much wasted because half their guys are either injured or in jail right now. So I mean, I like our chances. So
man, these Atlanta teams, man, it's like they're Jekyll and Hyde. Both of these Hawks and these Braves will start out making us lose all hope, and then suddenly it's like bang, bang, bang. We're in this thing.
One or two moves, the Hawks had to fire a coach, and the Braves just had to make some small trades.
Right.
So, but that concludes the Suicide Squeeze. On to the next segment.
Now it is time for the layup, aka the finger roll, aka jelly time, aka points in the paint. Yes, sir. And we are in a riveting NBA offseason right now. So these are going to be some sprightly and spirited short little points, but they're here regardless. So the first thing I want to ask y'all is, have any of y'all got a chance to check out this Malice at the Palace documentary on Netflix? No? So watching the documentary, obviously there's no spoilers. You don't get anything new out of it, but they sort of frame it in an interesting way. And anybody who watches NBA sort of knows that team was sort of trending on an upward trajectory. The season before, I think they had the best record in the league. And then the season following, they got off to a 7-2 start, and they were waxing the Detroit Pistons in that game. Ron Artest was playing like a man on fire. Probably it was going to be his best season. And Reggie Miller was looking real hopeful to get a ring. And that all changed on that night, when Ben Wallace had lost his brother. And the funny part is, I didn't know Jamal Tinsley was the catalyst for this whole thing. Did y'all know that?
Yeah, I remember.
Y'all remember that part? He was like, "Yo, take your foul now." I guess I had forgotten that part, and he went and fouled Ben Wallace, and that led to everything from. And obviously, Ron Artest was out here trying to channel his inner Dennis Rodman and just completely being a selfish prick from the playoffs that ended the last year up until that point. And the documentary did a pretty good job of capturing that. But then Jermaine O'Neal was on his whole, like, I was the victim thing, which, it is what it is. But I want to ask y'all, what are your memories of that moment in NBA history? Like, where were you when it happened? What was going through your mind at that time?
I was a senior in high school, I believe, or I just graduated. Yeah, because it was 2004, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I just graduated, and I was watching the game actually live, and it happened, and then I was like, "What in the going?" And they cut away from it. I was like, "No, go back, go back! What was that?" And I remember watching it live and thinking, Jermaine O'Neal just almost killed someone. Like, he nearly ended a man's life, but beer saved that man's life. So. I think that's, watching them go up in the stands and just like, it was like watching an adult fight children, because a lot of these people talk smack to these NBA players, and they don't realize that, just because they only weigh like 205, 210 pounds, these are professional athletes. They're also 6'8". Their hands are enormous. You catch one of those, man, it like Ron Artest was taking like 3 people at once, just like, what? And I was like, oh my God. And then I want to say Jamal Tinsley was a vastly underrated point guard at the time. He was actually very good. But yeah, I think that Jermaine O'Neal, like, beer slip punch was the one that sticks out the most to me.
Oh man. So I don't remember exactly where I was when it happened. I remember seeing it on ESPN that night, but I'll never. There are 2 stand-up specials where they talked about it that make me think of it the most. You had Cedric the Entertainer, who talked about Steven Jackson. He said Steven Jackson act like he was going to try and sneak a punch in said he away from the crowd, said look dead in the camera, bam, and then ran back out to the court. And then Bill Burr said he talked about how fans have had this coming for years. He's like, fans talk trash to players. It's like every time you see him, you're like, come on up here. Right. Well, they came up here. He said, and it was great. He said they were beating up whole rows of people at one time.
Right.
He said the one dude, he said he was like, he learned a valuable lesson in life. said when shit hits the fan, you don't just stand there like,
right.
But I mean, the beer's still in my cup, so it couldn't have been.
Right, you run, bolt, get the fuck out of there.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, it was crazy. It was just like, wow, bruh. Like, and I do remember thinking, like, seeing it on ESPN, I was like, damn, how did I miss that?
Right. Yeah, it was funny because I remember it, like, I did not like watching Detroit and Pacers games. Like, if you remember that, the game 7 or game 6 or whatever it was the year before, the final score of that game was like 69-65. So I was like Ryan, I was watching, and I remember just like being like, oh my God, this is hilarious and crazy. And what in the world is going on? But then what I distinctly remember, there was just the dark cloud of thuggery that the ESPN tried to paint on the whole league.
The music they would play with it, and I was like, calm down. Yeah,
the one dude, I forget what's his name. Like, he's one of the main reporters now for them, but he was so heavy on these guys are thugs, these guys are spoiled, blah blah blah. And I was like, oh my, they have him on the documentary. And then another takeaway from the documentary is I didn't realize that to this day Jermaine O'Neal still hates Ron Artest for ruining that season. And Ron Artest, when he won his championship with the Lakers, he even like apologized. He's like, man, I was a coward. I should have won this title with these guys. But hey, man, but it's just funny. Jermaine O'Neal has never let that down. And yeah, that was a crazy night. And it led to a lot of things. Actually, I mean, eventually the league went back, but it led to suits. It led to a whole thing. And it was a lot big. It overshadowed the league for several years, I feel, that incident. And they've done a good job of taking that away, but yeah, it was definitely a dark cloud. So moving on today, right when I was gathering the stories for this segment, I saw a crazy topic that sort of went viral, some article, and it was like, they said Rudy Gobert may be on pace to be the best French basketball player of all time. And I was like, am I crazy, or was Tony Parker not the second best player for most of the decade on a dynasty? Can anybody make a case for this Gobert guy?
Oh, Gobert.
Oh man, yeah. God, I like Rudy as far as the defensive presence, but I mean his offensive game is non-existent. It's like a French. He's like a French Dwight Howard minus some athleticism.
Right. Oh, he's an overhyped Clint Capella, basically. Plus some defensive,
and plus, he's a little more size. He got more length. He got more length than Capella.
No, I was trying to build a case for him in my head, but like Tony Parker's a multiple-time champion, was an absolute problem in the playoffs for several years. Like, Tony Parker's speed was insane, and the speed with the ball and his shooting. Once he got that shot,
it was over. That teardrop Trey does. I mean, that was a Tony Parker. No one could guard that.
Like the way he'd blow past the guard and then stop on a dime and hit that elbow shot, and it was just like, God, how? Like, how do you do that and keep that much body control where you can still hit a shot?
I mean, that little mid-range, he was an assassin. He was just like, I don't know what to do here. The big's like, do I commit? And if they committed, he would just dump it to Duncan or one of the slashers. And if they didn't commit, he's hitting that shot 60% of the time.
Or he hit Bruce Bowen in the corner because all he did was standing.
Right.
Did y'all see that crazy stats thing I posted today? I had completely forgotten about this. Bruce Bowen was a part of it.
The Dwight Howard one?
Well, but there was more linked to it. It was.
Okay. I didn't click on it. I just looked at that first one.
Bruce Bowen shot 44% from 3 in a season, but the same season 40% from free throw. It's like,
yeah, I remember that.
What?
I knew that. Yeah, he was an anomaly. One of the worst players to ever play in the league, but he did good things though. But man, I hated Bruce Bowen.
Nah, he reminds me of PJ Tucker.
PJ Tucker don't shoot no 40% from the free throw line though. I mean that's
shoot 40.
Abysmal.
He don't shoot 40 from 3 either.
True. Or play as good defense, but he's a better rebounder than Bruce Bowen was. So yeah, Tony Parker was a Finals MVP. So I don't know what the hell that guy was talking about. So like I said, there's just dudes writing articles like no one knows who they are, but
some dude said.
No one knows who they are but their mom, and so hey, Mom,
I finished the segment.
Right, Mom, I'm writing an article. But Dana's ready. Mom, I'm almost done. I'm saying Rudy's the best French player ever. Son. Anyway, so rookie star hopefuls, Cade Cunningham and Jalen Green have both played in the summer league and were very impressive. Jalen, who is a 6'5", 180-pound shooting guard, with a year of G League experience, averaged 24 and 2, not 24 and 20.
God
damn, this kid is nice. No, 24 and 2 on 12 attempts. And he shot an astounding 51 and 52%, 51 from the field, 52 from 3. Cade, on the other hand, who is a 6'8", 220-pound point forward. I didn't really see a lot of that point stuff on display, but that's what they've sort of touted him as. He averaged 18, 5, and 2 on 16 attempts, only 42% from the field, but 50% from 3, 1 block, 1 steal. Which of these players do y'all think has a higher ceiling, and who will have a better rookie year?
You want that, Ryan? You want it first, Ryan?
There's something about Cade. I don't know what it is. There's just something about him I'm not 100% sold on. I think he can be good. But I had this weird feeling that we're seeing Cade at close to his ceiling. And I don't see him getting much better. And I don't know what it is. I don't have a lot of evidence to back that up, but it's just something about the eye test. Like, yeah, he was really good at Oklahoma State. He's got great vision. He's a very good player. And I could be dead wrong on this, but I just don't think he's going to be the elite guy that we think he is. Jalen, on the other hand, is he's an assassin. Jalen is so good, and that year at G League really showed in him. So I'm going to take Jalen here as the higher ceiling of the two.
What about better rookie year?
Jalen, because he's on the worst team too, so he's got to do more.
Hey, Detroit's pretty bad, man.
Yeah, but Houston's very bad.
Okay, I'll come back. I'll with my comment. I'll wrap that up. Go ahead, Micah.
I kind of I don't know. I agree that Jalen. I think Jalen has the higher ceiling, and I think Jalen will have the better rookie year just because of that Houston, that the way Houston is set up, and not to mention Detroit is the one place that nobody wants to go. Nobody's excited to go play. Like Jalen Green said it himself. He was like, he wanted to be drafted number 1 overall, but he didn't want to go to Detroit. So, like I said, I can see Houston with the fit. He's got Christian Wood. So he's got somebody he can work with and kind of build some chemistry with. I really like Jalen's game, so I think he'll be the one that has the better rookie year and potentially has a higher ceiling.
So I agree with both of y'all that I think Jalen Green is a better basketball player than Cade. But just to Cade's defense, Cade to me really impressed me in college because on that Oklahoma State team, he got a lot of wins for that team he had no business getting. And when I see a player who's able to lead a no talent team to a lot of upsets, I always say, okay, they have some type of intangible that's hard to measure. But I agree with you, Ryan, that there's something about his demeanor, even the way he interviewed, it's like I don't know what's going on in that kid's head. Like I don't know. And
I need to know more.
Right. They're touting him as the next Luka. I don't see any of this non-Pareil passing ability. I didn't see that. Maybe he can pass, but I don't see any creativity in his passing like Luka or LeBron enough to call him a point forward. I mean, he's 6'8", so those are the guys you have to compare him to, and he's not like those guys. He's more of a scorer, a shooter. He uses his body to get buckets, and then you see that 42%, which is worrisome in the G League, or not the G League, in the summer league. My only thing, Jalen Green's a better player, but that situation in Houston makes me almost think that Cade might have a better year in terms of numbers, just because Jalen's playing with what's my guy's name, Kevin Porter, who's another tween the legs 30 times, try to score guy. He's playing with John Wall, who's not really a traditional point guard. He's a real point guard, but he's more of a pace tempo guy. So, and then like you said, Christian was a great fit next to Jalen, but with those two other guys there, I'm just not sure how many times he's going to be able to just, here's the ball, tween, do your James Harden thing. Cause he plays like James Harden. Like he has that same kind of game, except he's more wiry, more athletic, and he's a little quicker with his steps. So I'm not sure how that's going to work down there, but that Houston team is a lot more talented than that Detroit team. I mean, Detroit has Jeremy Grant, and Cade. Who else do they have?
They got what's that? Who's their point guard? Their point guard.
Is it the French?
The French guy?
Killian Hayes. Yeah.
Yeah. He's terrible though.
No, he's not.
Even I was watching, he got a little better, but in those first couple of games of summer league, I'm like, this guy is still bad. Like, what is going on? Why do they have so much faith in this kid? But yeah, I mean, maybe, but that Detroit team and that Orlando team are probably going to be the two worst teams in the league. Orlando, man, Orlando was literally playing their starting lineup and still getting waxed in summer league. So I don't know. I hope they're not too hopeful down there.
I didn't know they got Dennis Smith as well.
Who does?
Detroit.
Oh, Detroit.
Oh, Dennis Smith on Detroit? Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know what to expect from Dennis Smith at this point.
But that's sad though, because he couldn't play in New York, and Elfrid Payton.
Right, Payton took your job.
Oh my God.
Frank Nicolina got more burn than you. It's like, you gotta chill. He's like, what's my man?
Elfrid no court vision Payton. I don't see the point. I don't see the court. I see the bucket.
Right. I wonder though. Oh yeah, like Dennis Smith to me is like, what's my Markelle Fultz?
Yeah.
I compare those two. It's like they look so good coming out of college, but it's like, what the hell happened? But it's something about that weird combo guard size kind of player that doesn't have elite playmaking skills. It's hard to make it in the NBA.
Speaking of Ntilikina, did his ankles ever recover from that playoff game where
Coach Tibbs, man, he did that boy wrong. Why you gonna put him in with for the first time to guard Trey in the last? He did that boy so wrong.
Boy,
you gotta stay ready.
He almost shook his shoes off. He was sliding off. He looked like he was on a slip and slide.
Like, damn, like I understand stay ready, but come on, man. You gotta at least play him a little in the second quarter or something. Like he literally the first time he touched the floor, he had to
Like
guard Trey.
Frank was probably at the end of the bench, like texting, and he hears Coach Tibbs go, Frank.
Frank.
He can't be talking to me. That ain't me. I haven't played all game. Frank. Oh, me?
Go guard Trey.
We need a defensive stop here. We need a defensive stop here. Come on, kid.
Right. Are we talking about the same Trey? You mean guard the 3-point line? No. Trey Young. It's like, what? All right, here we go. Here goes nothing.
Literally, here goes nothing.
All right, so moving on. So Joel Embiid, it was reported that he inked a $197 million 4-year deal. Pretty similar to the deal that KD signed. Also, Kawhi inked a $176 million deal last week after the show. So I want to ask y'all, which of these generational wealth attaining athletes has a better chance of winning a championship in the next 4 years? I'm talking about Embiid and Kawhi, not KD, in their current situations.
Embiid.
Maybe Kawhi, because there's too much mystery about what the Phillies going to do with players.
About what Ben Simmons is going to do.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Now, if they make the right move for him, like I said, if they trade him to Portland and get like CJ McCollum and Nurkic, they could. Yeah, I could easily see them potentially winning a championship. But if they keep him and he's not talking to the other players, not returning texts and calls, and I could see that going very bad.
And he was training. Did you see him shooting threes with Rondo of all people?
Man, I was like, why would you choose this guy? Like, was it supposed to be ironic that
right?
We're a guy who learning how to shoot.
He learned how to shoot like last year.
I mean, learned how to shoot.
Oh man!
In the bubble, yeah. The bubble was the first time we ever was like, whoa, Rondo can shoot threes. Like, wow, that is incredible. So
Paul Pierce and KG were watching that like, really? You were wide open for all those years and you didn't do this?
Right. So, Ryan, why do you think Philly has a better chance?
I just think Embiid's a more unstoppable force than Kawhi, and Kawhi's kind of disappointed me these past couple of years.
Yeah.
I think Kawhi's championship has a lot more to do with Nick Nurse than Nick Nurse's championship has to do with Kawhi.
Kawhi's championship has a lot. Okay. I get that. And the fact that KD was hurt and Clay was hurt.
Yeah.
But now,
yeah, I mean,
in 2 years, everybody wants out of Toronto. Like, I don't want to play for Nick Nurse anymore.
I think they
anywhere but here.
They ran out. That formula ran out there for a while, and it just needs to be. But
part
of the problem is Siakam didn't buy in.
Yeah.
Well, he's not the player that they needed him to be. They're trying to like make him into another Kawhi, and it's just like that's not him.
Or a Giannis or something. Yeah. He's just not that. He's not even a Bam.
He's like a Tobias Harris.
Right. He's barely even that. Let's be real.
That formula of turning G League players into all-stars, that's not going to work long term.
That was cute. That was cute, real cute. And then in other news, so the Clippers have traded Pat Beverly, Rondo, and some old Nikes for Eric Bledsoe and some elastic bands. Who won this trade? Memphis is where Bledsoe was at, by the way.
Yeah.
Push.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if there's necessarily a winner. Maybe the Clippers won just because they got rid of Pat Bev, but that either way, you get Eric Bledsoe, who's another consistent disappointing player.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe Memphis. I don't know if it's enough to get them in the playoffs, but I think, well, I mean, it's funny though. I'm saying this now after we tried it here and it didn't do shit. Like, oh, Rondo's gonna co and mentor Ja. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. But I mean, maybe
You get it. You get another point guard who doesn't know how to shoot. You teach a point guard who doesn't know how to shoot. Yeah, no, that ain't gonna fly.
right when Pat Beverly is the best shooter out of the three of your point guards, you got problems. And I think, and Pat Beverly, I mean, he could be another Tony Allen type figure, but I still don't think Memphis has enough to make the playoffs. Like, even though they did make it, I forget they did make it, but I don't know. I don't know if they can. They're still 8th seed type material, 8 to 9, 10, 8 to 10 seed material, despite how, and Ja just hasn't proven to be an explosive scorer yet, even though he's really good. So
his game's not rounded enough yet.
Yeah, and he needs he needs to learn how to land and just think of other ways than just like exploding, because there's no way he's going to be able to maintain his knees the way that he plays. Like, and I would hate to see him get hurt like that. But do you see him land? Like, watch just on IG, watch some of his highlights.
He lands like D Rose used to.
Yeah, like so much impact. It's like, bro, chill out. Like, someone needs to talk to him.
Hold on to the rim a little bit longer so you can get, softer drop or something.
Yeah, land on the tip on the balls of your feet, not on your heel. Land like on his heels, like all kinds of awkward ways.
Yeah, it just shoots right up into those knees and hips all day long.
Yeah, I remember seeing this video like that was basically breaking down like that's the number one reason why players tear their ACL and injuries like that, because they land flat-footed or on their heels.
And that's what the ACL does, is absorb that shock.
All right, so last of general news, the Christmas Day games have been announced, and I'm going to exclude one for the end that obviously is the most important to us. But of these 4 games, which of the are you looking most forward to and then least forward to? Celtics, Bucks, Warriors, Suns, Nets, Lakers, and Maverick, Jazz.
So I'm looking most forward to Warriors, Suns, because I want to see Steph cook up Chris Paul
again and again and again.
And then also and plus I want to see how a few weeks into the season how Clay looks. I want to see if he can be somewhat what he was. And Clay and D-Book is going to be a really intriguing matchup. Because D-Book has really stepped his game up, and Clay is. I want to if he's if his mobility is there, I mean he's one of the best defenders in the league. So best on ball defenders in the league. Least the one I'm looking least forward to. That's tough, because Mavericks and Jazz. Probably Celtics, Bucks, one of those two, either Celtics, Bucks, or Mavericks or Jazz. I'm not a huge fan of watching any of those teams, really. Just their style of plays, it doesn't really appeal to me. Yeah. So,
Ryan,
I think just because the superstar value, I'm gonna have to go Nets at Lakers. And that LeBron and KD storyline is always good. And you got the Westbrook and KD storyline. You got the LeBron and Kyrie storyline. There's a lot of storylines in there. And plus, it will probably just be the best game, in all honesty, as far as quality goes. We're still up in the air if the Warriors can bounce back and be what they used to be, even at full health. Draymond's getting older. I don't see how they're going to really stop that. Well, I don't know. That could be a good one, but it's definitely Lakers Nets for me.
Least.
I mean, Mavericks and Jazz just sounds really boring just reading it. Yeah, really Celtics and Bucks is could be pretty boring too.
Yeah, that's why I was like, either one of those two games. Yeah, just
but definitely Nets at Lakers.
Yeah, I agree with Micah here. I think Warriors Suns will just be the most exciting game. I know there's something about the Nets and the Lakers where they just so nonchalantly great, like especially like Kyrie and KD. I mean, they just go cross, spin, bang, I got you. Then LeBron's just I don't know. They're just AD so lackadaisical. I mean, I'm sure the star power in that was good, but there's something about those teams where they just like, I don't know, they be coasting. But I feel like Warriors have something to prove, and the Suns just always play hard. So that, and I'm sure they're going to put Andrew Wiggins on Devin Booker, just because, I mean, Clay's probably going to be over there on Cameron. What's my man's name? Cam Johnson. Just to not really
campaign.
No, not campaign. Cam Johnson.
Oh, okay.
The small forward.
yeah.
And then most boring. It's like I hate to shit on Donovan Mitchell because I love Donovan Mitchell and obviously Luke is great, but yeah, I mean, I just can't watch the Jazz like that. And then the Mavericks are just Luka Ball, so yeah, that I'm not looking very forward to.
The Mavericks didn't do anything to get better this offseason.
Right, they just got one. Now they just have an angry Kristaps. Like that's it. And they lost their coach, so they lost one of the best coaches in NBA history. So. Did they get J-Kidd? Did that ever happen, or was that just a report?
I thought they got him.
Okay.
And he talked about water parks.
You talked about water parks.
Did y'all not see that satirical post?
Okay, yeah, he is the coach of the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, that'll be interesting.
Bro.
But I don't know what the hell he can tell Luka, though. I mean, I don't know what the hell he can tell Luka, bro.
Apparently, he'll keep you for Christmas or practice day before Christmas, though.
Is that what J-Kidd does?
Mm-hmm.
There is one dynamic that we didn't talk about. I didn't really mention. So Lakers. I'm very interested because I don't think it'll work. I don't think the ultra alpha personality of Russell Westbrook will go with LeBron. And a lot of people, oh man, they going to the finals, man. There's too much talent on that team. And I'm like, personalities clash, and I can definitely see Russell Westbrook being trying to take over a game down the stretch, and LeBron like almost having to snatch the ball out of his hands. Like, no, this is not what you do.
Right. It'll be compelling because I know by then we'll see a good amount of what they're gonna do. So
yeah,
to see them against the Nets, that's what I said. I don't know if the buildup is gonna be that important to me if those two going against each other. But anyway, so the final game of Christmas Day takes us into Hawks talk. Hawks at Knicks. Of course, we got to be in Madison Square Garden. Like they couldn't be Knicks at Hawks, considering we were. Anyway,
we're the better team,
right? Hawks finally getting some national attention due to our unbelievable run. Because apparently it took an Eastern Conference Finals trip to get TV time that Zion's middling Pelicans seem to have garnered since he got in the league. I don't know why there's so many Pelicans games on TV. I hope that changes this season. At any rate, how do y'all feel about this media fervor that the Hawks have begun to generate?
Fervor.
No,
I would. That's too strong of a word. Because
I've been seeing a lot of it though. Woj even led his whole little article with the fact that the Hawks were playing at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, but because that matchup was appealing. Like there was a lot of fun and like Trey talked this trash. It's like, bro, like what do the Hawks have to do other than win a championship for teams for these analysts to actually give us a shot? Like, oh yeah, this team is really good. No, it's almost like they think of us as a fringe team who happen to get lucky and make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. So
everybody was injured. Wait, we didn't play anybody who was injured. Oh, everybody was injured. It's like, wait, what?
We were injured.
Yeah, right. Our guys were injured. So yeah, I mean that's I don't know. Like I said, the fervor. That's why I was like, it's kind of just
too strong of a word for me because
Mhm.
it's just like the matchup. They saw that it was a rivalry. The fans hate Knicks fans hate Trey, and Trey is just embracing it, sucking it all up like, ha, we kicked y'all's ass. So yeah, I think that's all it was about.
What was the original question? What do we think of it?
Yeah, like, hey, how do you just feel about the fact that we're finally getting some attention, if any?
Man, it's deserved. Trey is for real. Trey is a media magnet, and not by his mouth, but just by what he does and the way he acts. And he's what this city has needed for a while. He's that backbone that we've lacked for quite some time. So I think it's deserved. I think it's exactly what we need. It's the type of mentality that you need to go into a place like New York, where it's so just complete opposite of the way you live down here, and be like, yeah, give me all that. I want all the smoke. Give me all that. So it's good TV. It'll be entertaining basketball. And I think it's well deserved.
Yeah, the only thing that sort of bothers me about this is that they're sort of trying to like cook up this Knicks Hawks rivalry. Like, yo, we beat them 4-1. It's like this is not. They're not. They
No,
weren't.
it's a rivalry.
It's not a rivalry. They didn't
it
even deserve
is.
to be on the court with us. How is a rivalry when we smack you? That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. I mean,
Just
you can
because-
have
Just because
decisive
your fans
wins.
are assholes, just because your fans are unsafe, they would have done that to anybody who was in that arena. 'Cause
Yeah,
they're just
but
dickheads.
they're in our conference and our division. Like,
The Knicks aren't in our division.
you're right. They're up. Yeah, sorry. They're in the, what is that? We're the South. They're
with like the Nets and the whoever else, Boston, I think.
yeah. Wait,
Yeah, but
did they used to be in ours?
I don't think so.
Oh, anyway.
We've been as far as I remember.
I'm
we've
just
been with
making up.
Miami.
I'm just making up conferences. Miami, Orlando, and I'm gonna transplant the Knicks. Hold on. It's a you can have a rivalry and beat someone bad, because just think about those times that like the Saints have whopped us, or vice versa.
But I mean, if you look at history, it's about even.
Well, we're ahead. We're ahead in history.
Yeah,
but
you let them know, Micah.
Whatever, man. I don't fuck with the Knicks like that. Maybe it is a rivalry because I have this animosity towards. Julius Randle's not even good, man. Anyway, they brought back a worse team. They got Kemba now.
Yeah, they got Kemba.
Cardiac Kemba, and it never works when players go and play for their hometown. So I don't expect that to work out. But I mean, I like it. This is just reflect. It makes me a little bit nervous that when people be talking about our team like that, because I sort of like I'm just so used to us being under the wraps that.
Please, no one notice us.
Right. It just makes me a little nervous because I know at the end of the day, if we underperform, everybody's just so ready to be like, see, I told you, y'all are trash. But I don't think we will. So moving on, some dude at Bleacher Report wrote an article stating that perhaps Jalen Johnson was drafted to the wrong team due to the opportunities to play not necessarily being there with John Collins and several other minute demanding forwards on the roster. Jalen, who certainly doesn't lack confidence, besides stating that he feels he's the best player in the draft, also stated there's a lot of experience on this team, so I'm going to sit back and learn. Whenever my number is called, I'm going to be ready. I'm not really worried about any of that. I just want to learn from the best on the team and learn from the guys ahead of me. I just want to continuously work because it's the one thing I can control. I can't really control how many minutes I'm getting. That's up to the coaches. I'm just going to stay working hard, stay ready, and when my number is called, blah, blah, blah. What's y'all's take on the fact that they say Jalen was perhaps picked by the wrong team?
You were picked. There's a wrong team who just made the Eastern Conference Finals and has other talent around you. So therefore, that's a problem. Like talent, cream rises to the top. Like if you're that talented, you're going to get playing time and you're going to get a lot of that, minutes. So that's the dumbest take I've ever heard. Like, oh, it's too crowded. Yeah, I'm sure. That's why, when players get hurt in an 82 game season or they need rest. That's why it's always good to have bad guys, like really bum guys on the bench, and not have another guy step in and be able to put up 20 or 25 on spots notice. It's a really good thing that we didn't draft Sharif Cooper too, because we already have Trae Young.
Right. We already have a point guard.
Don't need him.
He's not going to be able to start on this team. Like what?
What a dumb take.
Bruh, the sad thing is, I'm sure when he was writing this article, he was like, man, this is such a good take. He was like JP from Grandma's Boy. I am a genius. It's like, yo, like, bruh, isn't the point to have, you'd rather have too much talent top to bottom than to be super top heavy, and then you're playing like the Knicks, where you have like 5 or 6 quality guys and
you run them the whole game.
Yeah.
And then when it's crunch time, go get him, Frank.
Right. Frank, come on. Derek's tired. Come on, Frank.
Or then it like crunch time and you need a bucket, and it's a whole bunch of guys who are just like, I'm not used to this role.
Right.
I've never been in a position where I can take a last second shot. What am I supposed to do? So no. I mean, no. You want depth, because what we saw last year, honestly, was after injuries happened, and like in the playoffs, we had a few key injuries. We lost Brandon Goodwin down the stretch. Then when Trae got hurt, you're resorting to play guys like Chris Dunn.
All right. Oh my God.
Shouldn't have been on anybody's court. And
not even a church league court. Hey, get off this court. What are you doing?
This guy, all he does is foul and play defense. What?
He fouled me really hard. Stop slapping me.
Yeah, so it's like, that's the point. You want depth. You want to have solid teams top to bottom. But like I said, some of these so-called journalists and sports writers, they think way too much, and they overreact the situation, or I don't know. It's like they think they're smarter than they actually are, and it's like, no.
How hot of a take can I make this?
Right, about an obscure team that I think is on. I need to make an opinion about. Isn't Trae Young on that team? Anyway, but it's like, no, but yeah, I mean, it's crazy, man. I think some other thing on ESPN ranked our offseason an A+. Even though we didn't make too many moves, we maintained our depth. We've signed our guys, and we got 2 rookies, who could almost immediately come in and contribute, and I mean, you can always use a utility guy who can play defense, run the court, pass, like what, another 6'9" guy and 6'9", 6'10" guy. Doesn't everybody in the league want nothing but those guys? Like, anyway, man.
And I mean, if anything, he'll, like, once we get rid of Gallo this season, after this season, boom, there's your role.
Or even during the season. I mean, we've already talked about Gallo being potential trade bait. So
right.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like, yeah, we love Gallo, but he played terribly for like the first 2 series. It's like he was awful in that New York. Remember he came out with the haircut? We were like, yo, he's gonna ball. The dude was like breaking everything.
Oh, taxi driver head ass.
Right. Breaking everything, but he stepped up eventually. But
Philly, he started to like he didn't see a shot he didn't like. It was just like shooting.
Right. He was big in spots to where Bogdanovich wasn't. But yeah, I agree with you that even if we have to this season, maybe trade him. And then we also picked up what's my guy, the backup point guard who's better than Chris Dunn, DeLon Wright. He's a lot better than Chris Dunn, so that's real depth. He might be second. he might be second on the depth chart, and then Sharif.
He's the guy I don't see where he fits really though.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a good backup point guard. I mean, Sharif's going to take some time. I mean, this dude averaged like 6 turnovers in Summer League. I know he's really good at offense, but you can't be turning the ball over 6 times in Summer League. I mean, a game.
Hold on, dude. You said DeLon Wright is better than Chris Dunn.
A lot better than Chris Dunn.
Yeah. Way
better. But I mean, is that like what challenge?
I'm just
like,
saying that because Chris Dunn was in fact on our team last year, and he was in fact a backup point guard.
Outside of defense, I might have taken some of those and one guys offensively over Chris Dunn.
Hey man, I'm just stating from what we had. Chris Dunn's still in the NBA. He's on Boston. That's the perfect team for him. Boston's the perfect team for him.
Speaking of which, I was on Reddit the other day, and it was a Celtics fan. He was like, "So, just a friendly Boston fan here asking, how good is Bruno Fernando?"
You got Chris Dunn and Bruno Fernando. What a pickup!
and now some of the Hawks fans were jerks about it. It's like, man, he's a future GOAT. He's a future Wilt. And it's but a lot of them were just like, no, like, bro, like, no, he's pretty bad.
Yeah, he's pretty bad. And then lastly, real quick, if y'all would pull up just this little sneaker, I want y'all's opinion on Trae Young's new signature sneaker. I saw a tweet maybe last week or earlier this week where he was like, my shoe's about to drop, super excited. So it's going to be $140 shoe. It's called the Trae Young 1. Let me know what y'all think about that sneaker.
Oh. It's not terrible. It's not great. It's kind of fits this whole generation of shoes where it's like bright colors and weird shapes together.
A lot of straps and
yeah, like it's all right.
It looks like a book bag.
Would I ever buy it? No.
I don't know if Ryan could ever wear that shoe because
where's the ankle support?
Yeah. I could definitely see his ankles collapsing in those shoes.
That's why Trae got to wear
Adidas,
those transformer ankle things.
Why?
What do you call those things? Braces.
Ankle braces.
Why there's so many like hooks and loops and stuff that you can
right, it looks like he's going hiking. In some really colorful shoes.
Oh man,
these young kids, man. Are those supposed to be like those little ice creatures from what was that video game that had the little ice monsters? Is that Kirby? I don't know what the hell that is.
Oh man. Yeah.
But I mean, with Adidas being infamous for ankle injuries, you'd think that they'd be more cautious.
Lower limb injuries, not just ankle. Good.
Yeah, all kinds of
knees, ACLs, Achilles.
You think they'd be more cautious of it, but luckily, Dan.
Wait, is that not... the Freezy bear on the back?
Icy Freezy bear
or icy bear, whatever that thing is.
Let me go down. Oh yeah, it is the slushy bear.
Yeah, slushy bear.
Wow.
Oh, and it's got the snow on the top of the 11s. That's pretty dope.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, the icy bear.
From the top, it looks decent, but on the bottom, but on the side, you're like, yo,
this
what's going
weird
on
piece of like felt over the tongue.
That seems like that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing these days.
That just sounds like it looks like something's just gonna rip off while you.
Right. It looks
really
like one
dirty.
of those shoes. It's gonna it's gonna get dirty under there. It's gonna fall apart. Luckily, he's rich, so he gets a new pair every game. But it's like, for a normal person, this is not a practical shoe.
These look like the shoes Frozone would wear in the Invincibles.
That's a good one. And with that, we are closed this segment. That's it for the layup, aka the finger roll, aka jelly time, aka points in the paint.
Hey.
sorry. Incredibles. Incredibles. I said Invincibles. Incredibles.
Oh, yeah, I got what you meant. I
You got
didn't
it,
catch
yeah.
that. That does it for us. That was a long show.
Yeah.
I don't have a lightning round question. Do either of y'all? I had one earlier today, but I forgot it completely.
Yeah, and it's late anyway. It is
Yeah.
late.
We exhausted our lightning.
How
the trade
soon
question.
would you like to go to bed?
That the lightning round question was, would you buy these shoes?
No.
No. Come
Would I
again,
buy-
Trey. Maybe a
Would
high
I
top.
Buy them for Cruz? No.
No.
Although he does have thicker ankles, I think, so he'd be all right.
Got them Samoan ankles.
But yeah, it does it for us. That's episode 65. Thank you for sticking around. I know these are long. If you did stick around, don't forget to like and subscribe, leave a comment, join us on the Discord, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, all those things. But we are greatly appreciative, and we will be back next Tuesday. And we're out of here.
Peace.
Peace.
And if you like fish and grits and all that sports shit, everybody, let me hear you say, oh, yay. Oh, yay.